So, the term is violence or non-violence. Violence or non-violence. Just listen a little bit to me. That Gandhi, when he has entered into the Indian scenario, 1915, he has returned back from South Africa, and then he has started with his experimentation. So Gandhi started with his strategy of the ahimsa, non-violence. What were his arguments that why he want to go ahead with the ahimsa? So to Gandhi, that once you are going with the violent strategy, so if you are oppressing your ruler or foreign ruler with, or if you are trying to go to with the strategy of the violence to your ruler, so then the oppressor once again it resorts to the violence, and their violence is much more brutal and it is much more extreme. Then after, Gandhi says that as a violent strategy, we have failed in the past. Moreover, if we resort to violent strategy, so then what will happen? This violence will breed into the society, and we will create a cult of the violence in the society. So for a peaceful society, violent strategies are not okay. Non-violent strategies are something that we must go with. So this was the Gandhi's opinion. Bit too interesting. Okay? Interesting to this one. There are many other things, but then there would be the people who would not be liking this non-violent strategies, and there would be people who would be favoring the violence. So there were some radicals at that point of time, and we call them revolutionaries. So don't call them radicals because both of them are the patriots. Then each of them has an ideological difference. So these people who were revolutionaries, what they have to say? So they pasted a particular pamphlet on Sabarmati Ashram. Then, and these people has to say that violence is the strategy, that this is how the human society has operated. If we have been oppressed by somebody, so then what is the remedy? Revenge. Revenge is the redemption. This is how we instill fear among the hearts of the oppressor. And then they went on to say, so it is not easy, it is not difficult to understand. This is how the world operates. You might be having a friend. You might be having a friend. You might be loving him. You may go to extent that you may die for him. Then you can do anything for that friend. And you might be having an enemy. And you may be fighting with that enemy. Then maybe while fighting, you'll be opposing him, and maybe you will kill him. This is how the world has operated since the days of the Adam and Eve. It is not difficult to understand. This is the view of the people who are favoring the violence. So this is me, Neeraj Rao, your faculty of modern Indian history. And so now, so the senior most faculty of this institute, as far as the inception of the institute is concerned, there are some senior people who have joined us in the coming years. But as far as the inception of the institute is concerned, I'm the oldest faculty of yours, though I may not look like. Agree? In one of the class, somebody asked me in one of the left over there in IAPL house, "Kaun sa attempt hai?" I said third. So these are the subjects which I'm taking from right from the inception: modern Indian history, ancient and medieval history, and your art and culture. Then, so these are the three subjects. Hopefully, that we'll be meeting for one more subject. Since the number of the batches have increased, to very recently I have started taking that's modern in some batches, ancient medieval in few batches, and so as the art and culture in majority of the batches. Then, so modern and art and culture I'm taking in majority of it, and near about 1/3 of the batches I'm taking ancient and medieval. It's just because of the paucity of the time. So some new teachers would also be there, might be in these subjects also. It might be a possibility. And as far as this subject is concerned, so we will be taking near about 27 to 28 classes, 27 to 27, 26 to 27 classes for the modern Indian history. As far as that, if I come back for the ancient, medieval, and these all subjects, so in art and culture, I usually take 16 classes. It can go to 17 also, but not more than that. So 16 to 17. So these two I'm telling you. Then if I come back for the ancient and medieval, so there 14 classes would be there. And that's a general pattern of these all subjects then. So ancient and medieval 14, art and culture 16, and so as this one 26 to 27 classes. Now, so today's class is more about the orientation towards the modern Indian history. And moreover, I would like to go little fast, but that's not me. From tomorrow onwards, in tomorrow classes, we'll be very in a comfortable speed. And moreover, my way of teaching is very simple one, very traditional one, that I will be telling you the stories then. And obviously history is with the stories. That you remember, you tend to remember the history with the stories, and without the stories, it is nothing then. So I'll be telling you those stories, those instances. The similar things I'll be dictating also. So my understanding about this exam is that you must have your handwritten notes. That's what you revise in the end days. That's what you revise time and again. So what you have taken today, if you have nothing by the evening, so what you're going to revise? And moreover, I don't believe in the running notes then. So you can create your running notes, but I do believe that you must have a proper dictated notes, but later on you can make some changes in that notes, particularly in your language. So it would be my wordings that you'll be writing. You can make some changes when you're writing the answers then. So it's a very simple one, very traditional one, very old one, and then very effective one. And I usually don't resort to the PPTs, because if I used to say that if there is a PPT in front of me, so मुझे समझ में नहीं आता कि मैं तुम्हें देखूं या उसे देखूं. And then my entire knowledge is gone. So I'm stuck then. So it happened to me earlier also, that I was in interviews, and many of my friends from Delhi, they cleared the exam, and I did not got good marks in interviews. So they were like that. I asked them that what they were doing in interviews, that they were getting good marks. So they were saying that मैं आँखों में देख के झूठ बोल रहे थे. And I was like, मैंने आँखों में देखा और मैं कहीं खो गया, हटा ही नहीं. So I was stuck. So Ruchi, you missed first part. Ruchi missed scooty keys, and she missed many things. So she might be there in your class right from the beginning. Dimag kha jao iska. So she will be helping you. See, that I believe that in modern Indian history, the subject that we are going ahead with, so if you have any such kind of difficulty, with full faith, you can ask her also. Then, so let's go ahead with the scheme of the classes. So scheme of the classes, that इसलिए मैंने बोला that I'll be fast today, because I'm going to tell you the entire history today, modern, right from the beginning, so that a little bit of acquaintance develops. It's not like that everything you will understand today, but there are some things that will be there in your mind, that this is how we are going to operate, and this is what we are going to read. So it will be the scheme of the upcoming number of the classes, starting from the advent of Europeans, and we are going till the freedom and partition. And then I'll tell you that what other topics after freedom and partition will be incorporating into the classes. And then if you have any such questions related to the reference material, book, ठीक है, क्या पढ़ना है, क्या नहीं पढ़ना है, so we will have a discussion on it in the end of the class. Got it? Then, so should we start with your permission? All good? Chalo. So see that, first of all, let me write a little bit of timeline and little bit of three things. Some questions are there which I'll be asking you. So we divide history into three parts: prehistory, proto-history, and history. So prehistory, proto-history, and history. Now, do you have any idea that what we call prehistory and proto-history? So let me tell you. Prehistory is that age or that particular phase of the history where we have the knowledge about the humanity through the artifacts which they have used, or basically the material, the objects that they were using. So we get information about the humanity through the artifacts or the material that they have used. Basically, we are talking about the Stone Age. So in Stone Age, and that's from where we start the study of the history. So in Stone Ages, we get to know about the ancient humanity from their stone tools. Then, and moreover, what kind of small weapons, basically the fish related that weapons they were creating, and moreover, they were creating some paintings on the cave wall. So we don't have any literary evidence from the prehistory. कुछ भी लिखा हुआ नहीं है. So nothing written, no written record is available from the prehistory. We reconstruct the stone ages of India only on the basis of the stone tools used by them and somewhere from the paintings. Then comes the proto-history. So what is proto-history? This is the part of the history where we do have the written evidences. Then, so written evidence is there, but the problem is that this written evidence hasn't been deciphered. So this written evidence hasn't been deciphered. है तो पर पढ़ा नहीं गया है. And what is the best example? Indus Valley civilization. So in Indus Valley civilization, in art and culture, we'll be talking about it, that we have a pictographic script. Then, so pictographic script, which means that pictures and images are there, but that script hasn't been deciphered till this time. So we do have written record, but we are not able to decipher it till this point of time. That comes under the proto-history. And then comes the history. So history is basically the one which is written also, which is recorded also, which is well deciphered also. So we are in the phase of the history. Now, in history, so though this is also the ancient part, but let's divide the timeline. So generally, the ancient history, we start from the prehistory part. Then, and prehistory, in the Indian case, it all started from 5 lakh BC. Then, and then our study of the prehistory would be there till 8th century, or basically ancient India, 8th century AD. So this much would be there in the ancient. Then comes pre-medieval. Pre-medieval would be from 8th to 12th. Very good, exactly. So 8th to 12th century AD. Then century I'm not writing, century AD. And then comes our medieval history. So medieval history would be 12 to what? You tell? So medieval would be, for our syllabus purpose, it is 12th century to 1707. Here I'm writing exact date. So what is the relevance of 1707? We'll just explore. And then comes our modern. So modern, यहाँ एक confusion हो सकता है, that modern, we will start from advent of Europeans, 16th century, overlapping, ठीक है? So 16th century till this time. So till this time. So that is the modern, but for the purpose of the, basically we are reading about that particular phase of the modern history. So this would be till 1947. Right? So this is what we'll be reading. Now, why we are calling that, though specifically we can say 1707 onwards modern, but there is a one event which is leading to the changes after 1707, and event is in 16th century, advent of Europeans, meaning arrival of Europeans in India, and altogether for a different purpose. It does not mean that Europeans haven't come to India previously, but they have come to India previously also, but this time it's for a different purpose. Then, so this is the timeline. Now, in today's discussion, we need to understand 3 headings then. So 3 headings, and these 3 headings would be, so the 3 parts, the first discussion will start with advent of Europeans. Advent of Europeans. Then decline of Mughal plus rise of regional powers. Rise of regional powers. Moreover, in these 2, the next thing is the conflict between Europeans and regional powers. So conflict between the 2. Europeans and the regional powers. So that would be the first part of our syllabus. And then comes the next part of our syllabus, that is freedom struggle. Freedom struggle. Then, so freedom struggle. Now, this much we will this much part that we are going to discuss. Then, so this is near about that, including the British East India Company policies and everything. That will include 40% of the syllabus. Then, and moreover, this will include 50% of the syllabus. And where is the 10%? So 10% would be in the middle, socio-religious reform. So that would be the 10%. That exactly falls in the middle. So accordingly, that our classes would be divided in same way, that here this part takes a little bit of more time. But 11 to 12 to 13 classes, it will be there. Then 2 classes for the sociologist reform, and 12 to 13 classes for the freedom struggle. So this would be our kind of proportionate division of the syllabus. And this is the part which takes more time, but this is the part from where you get more questions. Then, so more questions, particularly from this part, you might get, even if it is 40%, then you might get only 25% questions. Then this part, it's a very confirmed part that each and every year you get at least 1 to 2 questions in the prelims examination, and in mains often every alternate year there is a question from the socio-religious reform. Then freedom struggle, this is the part which we can say that 65% questions are coming from this area in the prelims examination also, and in the mains examination also. Before moving ahead with these all parts, let's do a little bit of trend analysis also, meaning that how many questions have been asked from this particular section in the previous years. Moreover, I hope you know that as far as the history part is concerned, we have 2 more portions of the history in our exam. So one is the post-independence history and another is the world history. But somehow you are saved from reading the post-independence history and also the world history in the prelim stage, because both are not there in the prelim stage of examination. So you don't need to read world history in the prelims examination. You don't need to read post-independence in the prelim stage of examination. Only in the mains you need to read. As far as the world history is concerned, so please listen, that world history, 2013 was the new syllabus. And from that time onward in world history, they have asked, in first year, they asked in 2013, 3 questions were asked. But then onwards, it's either 2, 1 or none. Then, so this has been the trend. So general trend is world history, that 1 question they are asking in the mains examination. And whenever they are asking 2 questions, so in 2 questions, 1 you can do comfortably. That is basically based on industrial revolution. Then, so industrial revolution and the industrial revolution of Britain, Germany, US, Japan. So these are the easy portions. Then, so they are asking. And 1 question, the trend of the another question in mains examination has been little difficult. So even if you have studied a very bulky book, there is no guarantee that you will be directly writing from that bulky book. So the suggestion is that you don't need to fret over the world history. Then the next is that post-independence history. So when it comes to post-independence history, so this one, once again, in 2013 exam, that was the very first year of the new syllabus. And in that year, they asked 4 questions from the post-independence. Then, so 2013, 4 questions, and then after none in the last many years. So 10 साल में एक सवाल नहीं आया है. So what's the point is? The point is that you don't need to run after so many books for these particular topics. Then, moreover, whatever would be done in the classes, whoever would be teaching you, I think that would be more than sufficient. Then, so for these 2 sections. As far as the 3 parts which I told you, that ancient medieval art and culture and modern Indian history. So these parts are relevant in both the stages of the exam. Then, so both the stages of exam, that is pre also, mains also. And moreover, ancient medieval not specifically mentioned in the main syllabus, but there is a route of ancient and medieval in the mains examination, that is the route through art and culture. Then, so both are overlapped. Then, now when we look at the number of the question from this section in last 10 years, so in last 10 years, the average number of question from this particular part, that ancient medieval art and culture modern, average number of the questions is 18. So out of 118 questions are from these sections. Usme division bhi I'll tell you. And moreover, maxima, minima. So minimum number of the question from this section has been 14 and maximum number of questions has been 23. So minimum 14 and maximum 23. As far as the subdivision in this one is concerned, so in subdivision, what we find that is basically, so when we look at the ancient, medieval, art and culture, so as far as the ancient and medieval is concerned, it least number of questions are asked from it. So 3 to 4 questions. 3 to 4 questions. Then art and culture. So art and culture. From art and culture, they asked 6 to 7 questions. Okay? So 6 to 7 questions. Then, so 3 to 4 question or 6 to 7 question. And here, modern Indian history, it is the one part from where maximum number of questions will come. So this can go to 8 to 11 questions. Then, so this has been the trend in the last 10 years. And in fact, if you look back before 2013 also, so that has been the trend. Then, so it is equally applicable to the last 20 years paper. So this is how they do ask, and accordingly you can prioritize these sections. Then, moreover, in the terms of number of the classes, as I said to you, that this will be 13, 14 classes, this would be 16 to 17 classes, and this would be 26 to 27 classes. So according to the number of the questions, the time has been allocated to these all subjects. Then, moreover, let's move to the cutoff part. Have you had any discussion on the cutoff in the last few years? In initial of the classes? So do you have any idea that what is the possible cutoff of this year? I think today is the day we can expect results also, that final results also. So what was that? 87.5 something. Okay? So basically it is expected that it is somewhere around 87, right? 85, 86, 87. Last year's 87.5. So uske pehle wala 87.5. Uske pehle 92. Then 96. 96, 96 point something. So this has been the cutoff in last few years then. And cutoff has been 1 year 98. So the cutoff is hovering below 100 in last few years. And the time when the highest cutoff was there, particularly when GS is taken into the consideration, so 116 in which year? 2016. So that was the one year in which the results were outlier, or basically the paper was outlier, and the cutoff was little high. But from that time it is going down. So when it is going down, so what it is indicating to you? The paper is easy or difficult? It is difficult. Then, and what must be the strategy in the difficult paper? Would you like to attempt everything or be cautious? So you need to be cautious then. And believe me, that's for you, that if you are really a dedicated student, tough paper is good for you. Whenever the paper is tough, whenever the paper is difficult, it favors those who are studying. Okay? I'm not talking about that those who are highly intelligent. For highly intelligent, there are other exams. Then this exam is more about determination and perseverance, that how much efforts you are going to put in, then, and how consistently you are going to study. So those who are consistently studying, for them, this is tough paper is always better. Then, and in tough paper, definitely 99% of the good people clear, and rest of the people they flunk. But when the paper is easy, so luck is there on the side of the other personalities also. So that's one thing. Moreover, now since it is the subject of the history, so I just want to make a background very clear, that in history, can you tell me that is there any limitation to the number of the books or study that you can do? Then, and the second question is that is there guarantee that, suppose that you are reading ancient and medieval history, you have read, somebody has suggested you to read a 2500 pages book. Is there a guarantee in UPSC exam that you have read 2500 pages and question will come from that only? It is not a guarantee. Then, so this particular portion, ancient and medieval, then, so you don't need to fret over this portion a lot. Then see whatever you are studying and the standard books that we will be kind of referring, or your friends and then some selected candidates have referred, so you can go ahead with that. But please don't go ahead with the big books. That will waste your time. Then moreover, UPSC always has an option. As you know, that particularly ancient and medieval history has a hell lot of scope. And moreover, hell lot of scope because there are so many versions of it. I'll tell you one very important fact about it. Then about the history part. We are in the helm of the affairs whereby we are listening that things are going to get changed for some portions. Then some alterations will happen in the books or some new additions would happen in the book. So is it a new thing which has happened under the current regime, or is it a normal thing which happens all the time? Yeah, it's a normal thing. It happens all the time. That when the regime changes, so there will be changes in the history. So now I'll tell you that there was a person, I'm not naming him, so Robert Brown, I think his name, he took a task on him, and the task was that he was going to write the world history, the history of the world, all the countries, all the continents, all the islands. And then he has closed himself in a room. Then all the services are available to him. That every food delivery, Zomato, then Swiggy, they are delivering to him. And then after, he is in hell solitude, and then also he's doing meditation, he's writing the world history. His room is full of many books, and then he's writing. He was almost done with the 40% of the book. And then after, what happened? That one fine day, that he heard some cacophony outside his house. Then so many people were shouting, and so many people were crying, and then so much of noise was there. So he was a little pissed off that why the hell they are not letting me write my book. Then that let me see that what they are doing. That I was writing from last this many days very comfortably, and that what has happened today. So when he moved out, so he saw that there was a murder on the street. There was a murder on the street, and there were 15 people. He was shocked. He asked questions to them. And now what he realized, that 15 people had 15 stories to tell. That why the murder happened, how the murder happened. Then he came back to his house. Now he realized that where he was wrong, he burnt all his writings. You got it? So there is no one version of the history. And if somebody claims that I am the one who is right, then so that's not perfect truth. Then so there could be n number of the versions of the history. And you understand, history is an approach. It is an approach to tell you that what has happened in the past, and to tell you that what you can learn from the past. And history is better when it is told as it is. History is better when it is told as it is, because if I add my fervors to it, so being a disciple of mine, you might get indoctrinated, and that's not my purpose. I'll tell you the truth, even if it is uncomfortable, and even if it is very comfortable. So it is you to judge according to that fact. Got it? Then so let's begin with this part. So I hope you understood. So here you are in the later part of the class when we are going to discuss the reference material. So our endeavor would be that you all become district collector, not book collector. Yeah, so that's what we end up doing. That in the market, this old Rajinder Nagar market is highly enticing. Market में घुसो तो कहीं चाय दिखती है और दूसरी जगह notes दिखते हैं. And then this note looks much better, this note looks much better, and much better, you know, on what basis? Photocopy की quality बड़ी अच्छी है. Let's have it. Then, so don't go in this way. And there are many babas and babis, ठीक है, over here who will be referring to you. So don't take them serious. Then take yourself serious. Then, and if you have any hiccup in the preparation, your institute is there with you. We have a very robust system of mentoring, and then we have a very robust system of that whatever problem that you are going with, you can discuss with us. Then whatever means whatever. Then but ज़्यादा extend नहीं करना. So so let's start with the very first part. Advent of Europeans. So 3 headings I have mentioned, and on these lines we are going to move in the today's class. So advent of Europeans, decline of Mughal, rise of regional power, and then freedom struggle. So let's start with this very first one. Why we are calling advent of Europeans, or as if there was no contact between India and Europe earlier? There was contact. So right from the ancient times, India has a contact with the European world. In fact, the Sangam dynasties, you'll be studying in the ancient history, Sangam dynasty, Chola, Chera and Pandyas. Now, you must have got acquainted with the PS1 then. So that is related to the Cholas. Then, so Chola, Chera and Pandyas, they had a trade contact with both the sides of the world. They had the trade contacts with the Roman world also, and they had the trade contacts with China also. So they were the one who were trading with both the areas. So as that when we talk about the Guptas, so Guptas had a very good trade contact with the Roman world. Then So as even in the time of the Mauryas, the entire Middle East was having contact, trade contact with the Ashoka. Then, so trade contact with the European world was there from time immemorial. But the route of this trade contact was partial land route and partial sea. So partial land route and partial sea. So generally what was happening, that European traders, they were coming to the three cities then, and these three cities, I hope you must have heard. One is the Constantinople. Have you heard about it? The today's city of Istanbul is Constantinople. And then there are two cities. In English literature, you must have heard about Merchants of Venice and Geneva. Have you heard about it? So this Merchants of Venice and Geneva, they were the second and third contact point. Moreover, Constantinople, Merchants of Venice and Geneva, they were in turn contact with the Arabian traders. And Arabian traders were the one who had the direct contact with India. So let's go ahead with map, and it will be better if we try to understand it through map. So just give me a little bit of time. Yeah, that's fine. This much is fine. So now in India, Acha, have you started with geography? How many classes have happened? So have you read about monsoons? Abhi nahi pada hai. But anyways, I'll tell you little bit things about related to monsoon because it is very relevant over here. So now, this particular part of the world, that is Arabian part of the world, it has a natural trade contact with India from time immemorial. The reason was, please understand, that in the upcoming geography classes, you'll be understanding that when you're reading about the monsoon, so you'll be reading about the 17 factors of the monsoon. And apart from those 17 factors of the monsoon, the two type of the monsoon. So today is the 22nd of May. And it is said that on 1st of June, the monsoon winds hit Kerala and then it advances. This year, it is 3-4 days delayed. Then, so it might be on 3rd or 4th or 5th of June. So monsoon winds hit Kerala and then it advances to the rest of the part of the country. So the monsoon which hits Kerala, let's use different color, and it is called as advancing monsoon. So this is advancing monsoon. And advancing monsoon is the one with which we get a hell lot of water in the North India. So first it hits Kerala, then it moves to these all parts, and then it moves to the north part and touching the Himalayas. So advancing monsoon is the most important thing to happen in the northern and the western part of India, because of which we get hell lot of rain. Then, so why this advancing monsoon, these winds which are blowing from here, they are called as trade winds. I think this much you must have read, trade winds, pada hoga. So southwest trade winds and northwest trade winds, you will be reading in the monsoon. Then what happens? Till what time monsoon stays in Delhi or in northern India? We can say till the first week of October. To be sure, first week of October. So the wind direction in these months from June to September, it is in this direction, the arrow direction. And then there is a season of the retreating monsoon. So retreating monsoon, jata hua monsoon. And in this monsoon, what happens? That the wind direction reverses. And in this particular, so that is from October mid to entire November. So 1.5 months is the season of the retreating monsoon, and then the eastern coast and Tamil Nadu gets hell lot of rain in the retreating monsoon. You got it? So wind direction has reversed. Pehle idhar se, and then now it is on the other direction. So it has reversed. So now what is the benefit of this wind direction? The Arabian traders, right from the time immemorial, they used these winds to arrive in India. And in fact, the thing is that these winds are moving towards the land only. And obviously that when they are arising from the sea, so they move towards the land. So when they have arisen, so they are moving towards the Indian subcontinent. So whenever there is a retreating monsoon, then so this type of monsoon, jata hua monsoon. So the wind direction is this. The sea waves are flowing towards this, and as such, the Arabian traders, they are taking their ships comfortably, they are landing in the western coast of India. Then, getting it? So no such difficulty was there. Whenever there is an advancing monsoon, so advancing monsoon goes like this. Then, so advancing monsoon, it moves like this. And then they are taking their boats from India, going back to their country. So it is the monsoon winds which favored their arrival in India. And they didn't had any difficulty. So that's how they were there in India from time immemorial. In fact, when you study about the history of the religion, so history of the religion, so you get to know that when Islam emerged, one of the very first country where it has come, that was India. In 7th century AD itself, when the Islam has emerged, so the Islam has traveled to India with the traders, then particularly in the southern part, in the coastal areas, and one of the initial mosque or earliest mosque of the world is in Kerala. And the name of the mosque is Kunhamad, sorry, that, I'm just forgetting his name, I'll tell you. So there was one mosque which was created in Kerala, and I remember that in the very first year when this NDA government came 2014, and that was the time when Prime Minister has gone, our Prime Minister has gone to Saudi Arabia. He gifted the replica of that mosque to the Saudi prince, then, so Saudi king, Chairman Juma Mosque, that's the name. So Chairman Juma Mosque, that's one reality. Then another thing, that Christianity, which emerged in the 1st century AD. And since in the very first century of its inception, in fact, just after the death of Jesus Christ, the Christian saints, they have come to India. Then from Israel, they have come to India to propagate the Christianity. And one of the initial churches of the world that's there in India. Do you have any idea where? There's a place called Mailapuram, then in Tamil Nadu, where there is a grave of St. Thomas, and his church is in Velankanni, which is in Puducherry. So the point is that this country was important for everyone, then, and for everything which is happening in the world. So happening in the world, and why it is important, that we need to understand, and why the Europeans are interested, why Arabians are interested in this country or in this subcontinent. So one of the great feature of the Indian subcontinent, that we have diversity. And diversity, which they are interested, the biological diversity. So this biological diversity, the variety of the flora and fauna, meaning that variety of the crops that we have and variety of the animals we have, which these Europeans or people from the Western world might be interested. Then, when you look at the climate of the Indian subcontinent, so what all type of climate do we have? Monsoon to hai, uske alawa, what else? Please tell me. We have tropical type of climate also, subtropical climate also, dry climate also, then arid climate also, and even Arctic also. Arctic climate on the hill area, in the hill areas, upper ranges of the Himalayas. So when we have this much diversity in the climates, so we will have the diversity in the vegetation, then, so diversity in the vegetation, so as diversity in the animal also, so animal population also. Moreover, it is agricultural diversity which is more important. And the things which the Europeans and the Western world was interested in was the spices. So they were interested in spices and condiments. Then, can you tell me that where in the world for the first time cotton was grown? India. Okay? So it is the Indian subcontinent. So cotton was the native plantation of India. It was first grown in the Mehergarh. Then Mehergarh is right now Balochistan area of the Pakistan. So it was first grown in this area, and cotton is the native plantation of India. Moreover, whenever we tried that, for example, that summers have, now they have started, that temperature have started to increase. And then in the morning when we decide that what we should be wearing, so we prefer that one which is more comfortable in the winter, that the summers, the cotton cloth. We often go after, though we may enjoy some luxurious cloths at some occasions, but most of the time we are preferring cotton cloth. So it is the most comfortable thing which happened to the humanity as far as the cloth is concerned. And that's why people say that cotton or nothing, or jockey or nothing. Then, so no, they meant to say cotton or nothing. Then, so now cotton is one thing which people were going gaga then, and people from the Western world and people from any part of the world, they needed cotton. So they are coming for the cotton also. They are coming for the spices, I'll come to. Then Silk industry was also very much developed in India from time immemorial, because we have that variety of the climate, and you know that silk is grown on a particular tree which is known as mulberry. Then, so silkworms are grown on the mulberry, because these silkworms, they are eating the mulberry leaves. Then, and that's how. So sericulture or silk production in India is happening from time immemorial. In fact, when you're reading ancient history, Guptas, so Guptas became highly rich by trading the silk. So Guptas, their capital, which was their Kasi and Prayag, then, and you must have heard, some of you must have heard about Banarasi sari. Okay? So this Banarasi sari is not a new thing. It has a connection from the time of the Guptas. Then, so sericulture was very popular. Europeans are running for this also. Now let's come to the condiments, then the spices. So when we look at particularly the European countries, not the Arab world, but European countries. So European countries, basically what is their food? And their food was mainly non-vegetarian, meat. It's a necessity, because they didn't had the diversity in the vegetation. All the time, most of the time in a year, they are either getting one type of the plant or one type of vegetation, or maybe sometimes when the snowfall is happening, so nothing is there. So their life is dependent on the, so in cold climate, people generally go after the non-vegetarian food. So their food is non-vegetarian. Moreover, in the winters, particularly the December, Christmas, then, so they are preserving meat also. But for preserving meat, what they need? Spices and condiments. Then, now, one more thing you understand, that which area is more favorable for production of the salt? Europe or India? India. Because for production of the salt, though it naturally happens, but temperature to high hona chahiye na? So temperature must be higher than 27 degrees Celsius. And that's there in India, the coastal area. So even, and what about the Britain, what about the France, these all area? The Atlantic Ocean which is there, it is too cold over there. So the natural production of the salt is not happening, right? So they needed salt from India to preserve those meat. They needed those spices to make their food tasty. Then, so those spices like black pepper, cardamom, they were one of the spices which they were running after. So black pepper and cardamom, they needed these all things to make their life spicy. Then, and so that's what was the one thing, that life is nothing without some sort of spiciness. Then, so it must be there. कुछ gossips पे से भी फर्क पड़ता है. So we'll tell you some story related to gossip in ancient and medieval, not here. So now listen. So they needed these all things. It was their necessity to come to the Indian subcontinent and also the Indonesian subcontinent. It's not just India, but also the Indonesia and Malay Peninsula. So Malay Peninsula will include Malaysia, Thailand, okay, Singapore, parts of Cambodia, Vietnam. So these all places, and Papua New Guinea also. So these all places. So they were interested in coming to these areas. Now let's understand what's their problem. So their problem, when we are moving about that, when we are talking about their problems of the Europeans, so since this trade is generally happening between the India and the Arab world, they have the first contact. So what the Arab traders, suppose that there is a commodity, Arab traders are purchasing at 10 rupees. Okay? They are purchasing in 10 rupees from India. They will be selling, so three contact points. First Constantinople, here Istanbul, and then comes the Venice and Geneva. So from here it is going to here, from this place to these two places. So once the commodity reaches Constantinople, it becomes 20 rupees, and it reaches the merchants of Venice and Geneva, it becomes 30 rupees, and then when they are selling it to the European market, it becomes 60 rupees. Then, so this is how there is a six-fold increase in the price. Then from India to European part of the world. And that's why, have you given a thought that in India, do we have gold mines? Do we have gold mines? And do we have gold mines? And moreover, that don't we have golds? We have hell lot of gold. There are many terms which are given to India. For example, that India is often called as Sone ki chidiya. Then, so when we talk about the gold mines in India, so as you said that Kolar gold fields, then, so is it possible to extract anything from Kolar gold field? So it is possible in the movies. Yeah. So in movie 1, there were only 2 mines, and then movie 2, KGF 2, there were 10 mines. Then, so it is possible over there, but in reality, It is one of the deepest gold mine of the world. And if somebody happens to extract gold from the KGF, he himself will be extracted. That's the reality. So there is no gold mine literally in India. It is just for the namesake. Despite the fact we are the highest reserve of the gold in the world. What is the reason? The reason is this trade. That right from the very beginning, the Arabian trade and the European trade that we had. So gold was the medium of the exchange. Gold was the medium through which the trade was happening. Then gold we call as bullion. So they were giving us the gold, and then we were giving them the so many other things. Then so this is what one such thing. Now understand. So the prices have increased, and now Europe was in a dire necessity to find an alternative route to India. Why? To pay these intermediaries, merchants of Venice, Geneva, Constantinople, and the Arab world. So they were in the search of this alternative route to India. And moreover, the initial can you tell me that who took the initial initiative of the adventure in the sea? Portuguese or Spanish? Spanish. Okay? So Spanish were the first people who started this thing. Okay? And that with the patronage of the Italian queen, a Spanish sailor, then Columbus, he started his search for India, but unfortunately he landed somewhere else, that is to what we call today West Indies. So he landed in West Indies, and then he called this area as the West Indies. Then Jamaica, Kingston, then Bahamas, then so these all areas he has landed. Moreover, can you tell me that who was the first person to land in North America? Today, USA. That what we call USA. Who landed in USA first? Any idea? Not Columbus. Americio Vespucci. Then, so America is named after him. America. So it was Americio who landed first in Americas. Then, and Columbus was in the search of India, but he landed in the West Indian Islands. Then, and that's what he named it, West Indies. Then after, when Columbus failed to arrive in India. Now the next endeavor was taken by the Portuguese ruler, and the Portuguese ruler. So we'll be writing these all stuff. His name was Henry the Navigator. He started promoting the seafaring activities, and as such, that there were not initial successes, but there was one success. There was one guy whose name was Bartholomew Diaz, and he has reached to Cape of Good Hope. So Cape of Good Hope is the Cape Town. Okay? So he has reached to Cape Town, and then after the Vasco da Gama's entry to India is happening. So how it happened? So Vasco da Gama has started with the 3 ships from the Portugal and from the port of the Lisbon. So his route, I'll tell you, I have made this particular thing very clumsy. So just give me a little bit of time so that I can tell you his route. Yeah, fine. So Vasco da Gama started his journey. This is Portugal, and from here he has started. So they are keeping themselves closer to the land. Then this is how he found that closer to the land, not deviating much into the sea. Now he has kept closer to here. Then they are moving like this. Can you tell me that what is this country over here? This one, Somalia. Then so Somalia, and there are 3: Djibouti and Ethiopia. So 3 countries are there. So from here, they have taken the help of one Indian sailor. And his name was Abdul Majid. Because India has a contact with the European, that Arab world. So he has taken help of that sailor, and that's how from here he has come to India. So Vasco da Gama was finally successful, and in fact his journey itself was highly interesting. So here also I would like to tell you a story, one small instance. Then instances that what made them successful and how they were able to consolidate in India. It's a one insight about their strategy. So Vasco da Gama writes then that he has come to this place, okay? And this place was called as Madilna. Then, so it was called as this, from there he started for India, Madilna. So he said that by this time when we have reached to the Madilna, so that out of the 3 ships, 2 were fully damaged. Then they were not in a condition that we can row to the India. So now in 1200 ducats, then 12,000 ducats, that's some sort of money. Then so in 12,000 ducats we purchased a ship of Mecca. Then so we purchased a ship of Mecca, meaning that the a ship which was coming from the Mecca, basically the people who were there coming from the Mecca, and they were in that ship. He further writes that there were 380 80 people in this ship. So the agreement was that he has brought the ship, but he will have to land them safely in India. Then these all people, 380. 380 people included many women and many children. So they have purchased the ship, they have started, and once they have landed in India over here, then they burnt the entire ship with all the 380 people with gunpowder. Seems violent. It was violent. So for them, the purpose was to know the route of India. And since these people from here have traveled to Mecca, all of them know route to India. Their purpose was not the ship. Their purpose was to be in India and create a regime of the terror. And what they have used, gunpowder. So gunpowder was one of the very important and initial strategies in the establishment of all these European powers. And they have led to their consolidation in India. So anyways, they are done and dusted, these Indians who have started from the Mecca, and then now the Portuguese have landed in Calicut. Indians are unaware about it, that what is their strategy. So Vasco da Gama has been welcomed by the ruler of the Kerala, Zamorins. So Zamorins welcomed them, and moreover, we were right from the beginning, we were a peaceful country. India never believed in the atrocities, and India never believed in going to the taking the expedition to the other countries to loot their people. We have very rare instances of this, only one or two. We have not gone in this direction. But when we look at the other parts of the world, their strategy was expeditions to the countries and then looting and arsoning in those countries. So we were a type of the people who believes in the mutual trade, mutual benefit. And for us, it was good. For Kerala, it was good that they will be purchasing our spices. We don't have any other thing to do with them. So they will purchase our spices and they will give something to us. And with that, our prosperity will increase. So we always believed in the symbiotic relationship, mutualism. And we were unaware about the ill intentions of the European powers in India. And it took a little bit of time for us to understand that how ill-intended these people were and how desperate these people were. So this entry has opened a new chapter in the history. So Vasco da Gama has landed, and then he has returned back to his country with so much of stuff. And then now everyone in the Portugal is like that they will be going to India and they will be purchasing the stuff and selling in the European market, making huge benefits. Then, so they have come to India, and it took, so 1498 was the year when this has happened. Near about 100 years, okay, more than 100 years, that this particular Indian trade was dominated by the Portuguese. So it was dominated by the Portuguese. No other European powers was allowed to come to India. We will talk about the strategy that why other European powers did not came in between 1500 to 1600. But by 1600, these European powers, they have also increased their naval strength, and then now they are in a position to defeat the Portuguese also. So they have started arriving in India. So we will go into the details of that later on. So the second company to arrive in India, or second European power to arrive in India, do you have any idea? Dutch. So first were the Portuguese, second were the Dutch. And Dutch came in 1602. Then came English, somewhere around 1607. So 1607, 1608, English were followed by Danes, sorry. English were followed by Danes. Danes came in 1616. We will be mentioning these all. We'll be writing these all later on. And then came the last one, the French. So French came in 1664. So 1664. And by the middle of the 17th century, already all the European powers, majority of the European powers are there in India. They are slowly consolidating their position. Moreover, these all European powers, they were aided by their own kingdoms. Okay? Their own countries, meaning that they have the support of their own kings. So they have been given charters, and these charters included their rights and privileges. And whenever they would be in a precarious situation, whenever they would be in a difficult situation, so their country, their army will come to rescue them. So they have been given this much power. Now, the problem is that you must imagine, that you must ask this question, that in India, when Portuguese have come, 1498, Lodhis were the ruler in the northwestern India. And then after 1526, the establishment of the Mughal has happened in India. So Portuguese are flourishing at the time of the Mughals. Then, so at the time of the Mughal, Babur, Humayun, then Akbar, mainly Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan. So this period, 1664, and starting from the arrival of the English company, okay? So English company 1607. So 1607 to 1664, we see three rulers, then majorly Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan, and even Aurangzeb also. So Aurangzeb also. So these four rulers. Now, despite the presence of these mighty rulers of India, why the Europeans have increased their influence in India? What's the reason? That how they increase their influence in India? These some initial questions are very important for our class to understand. So the reason is, there was one weakness of the Mughal India. One weakness of the entire Sultanate and the Mughal Badsahat in India was that there is no navy. So the Indian rulers did not emphasize on the navy. So not Akbar, not Jahangir, not Shah Jahan, not even Aurangzeb. So they went in the direction of developing a very strong navy. And that was the reason because of which that they started to become dependent on Portuguese in the beginning for naval transportation or for kind of sea transportation. So they became dependent on the Portuguese, and later on when Portuguese were replaced by the English. So it is basically because of the navy, they became a reliant power in India. And after the death of Aurangzeb, who was the last mighty emperor, then who has held a lot of power, who has held a lot of authority, and he was a bit brutal also whenever anybody goes to the revolt. Then when anybody puts a resistance, so he was brutal also. So till his lifetime, they are not doing much. Then they are just portraying themselves, these all European powers, that they are for the mutual trade, and then they are helping the Mughal India, and in turn they are also getting some sort of profit. But after the death of the Aurangzeb, the naked dance of the European imperialism and colonialism has started then, and now they have started to increase their power. So now from this topic, okay, we are moving to the second topic, what I mentioned, decline of Mughals and rise of regional powers. So let's leave this Europeans here. Let's move to the decline of Mughals and rise of regional powers. So see, there were many regional powers which emerged at this point of time, but the most important ones we'll be discussing in the classes. So decline of Mughals and then regional powers. So understand that first of all, that after the death of the Aurangzeb, this would be one topic which we'll be discussing in very elaborate, that why the decline of the Mughals has happened. Then what were the reasons? So we'll try to find out that what were the reasons that why decline has happened. But there is one thing, that after the death of the Aurangzeb, those who have come to power in India, so they are called as later Mughals. Bahadur Shah first, and starting from the Bahadur Shah first and ending by Bahadur Shah second. So from 1707 to 1857, these were the people. And in the middle, there would be Jahandar Shah, Farrukh Siyar, okay? There would be Muhammad Shah, there would be Shah Alam. Then, so n number of the people are there, we'll be discussing about them. But why they are called as, are they not the Mughal blood? They are the Mughal blood. They are the sons of the Aurangzeb, but why they are called as a later Mughal? So the reason is that Aurangzeb was called as the last mighty Mughal emperor who has all the power then, but after him, all these rulers were very weak. And not just weak in their administration and in their military prowess, but they were also weak in their character. Some of them have fallen to the physical pleasure, then carnal pleasure, and they are not looking at the administration. So once they are caught up in the carnal pleasure, so obviously that power would be enjoyed by those people who are in nobility, those who are darbaris, those who are officers. Then, so The power was enjoyed by the nobility, and that has led to the decline of the Mughals. Now, so decline of the Mughals hasn't happened in just this way, but also, let me tell you, at the time of the Aurangzeb, almost, okay, almost all the parts of India were under his control, barring few areas, but the length and the breadth of India was under his control. That north to south and east to west. So it was there. But soon after his death, the fragmentation of the Mughal kingdom has happened, and many regional powers have emerged. So the reason of the emergence of the regional power, death of Aurangzeb, and weak successors, and then strong regional leaders. So who are these regional powers? There will be two types of the regional power. Let me define it over here. One is called as successor states, and another is called as rebellious states of Mughals. So successor states and rebellious states, or rebellious regional power. So successor, understand, successor were those, they are part of the Mughal nobility, meaning that they are either the ministers of the Mughal kingdom. Now, after the death of Aurangzeb, they have found their new vocation, or moreover, we can say that everybody is ambitious, everybody is aspirational. So when there is no such central authority like Aurangzeb, so they will pursue their own ambition, they will try to become the emperor, they will try to enjoy more power. So the Mughal nobles, they went on to found three states, then Bengal, Hyderabad, and Awadh. Okay? Moreover, in Hyderabad itself was combined Carnatic. We'll discuss about it. So area of the Carnatic was also sub-feudality of the Hyderabad. Then rebellious power. So rebellious states were not, they were not created by the Mughal nobles. It was not created by the Mughal officers. It was created by the rulers, erstwhile rulers of India, who were dominated by Aurangzeb. Meaning that they were a royalty in India, but they were dominated by Aurangzeb. Their area has been captured by Aurangzeb. So after the death of the Aurangzeb, they have reasserted their autonomy, their independence. And these states include, do tell me, Mysore, Maratha, and Punjab. So Mysore, Maratha, and Punjab. So these powers do come under the category of the rebellious state. So this is the topic that we'll be studying. So for example, the tomorrow's class will be starting with the advent of Europeans, and then after we'll move to the later Mughals, okay, and decline of Mughals. Then after the completion of the later Mughals and decline of Mughals, we'll go into the successor state and rebellious state. So these would be our topic. So now, understand, so these many powers have emerged. And if I had to timeline, so timeline also I'll be writing, but it's of no use today. The first power to emerge was the Bengal, 1717. Then Awadh and Hyderabad. So Awadh in 1722, Hyderabad in 1724. And so as these all powers then, so they have emerged soon after. By 1730s, they have reasserted their autonomy. So now, there is, now in the 17th, 18th century India, basically in between 1707 to 1750. So what all powers are there in India? Let's understand. So what all powers? So Mughal power has already declined. We will not consider them as the most important power. And at this point of time, so we have Bengal, we have Hyderabad, we have Awadh, Carnatic, then Maratha, Mysore, and Punjab, and British, French, Dutch. So British, French, Dutch. By 1700, Portuguese have remained to be a negligent power, or not negligent we'll say, but now they are not the very powerful people. And so as the Danes, then, so people of the Denmark or Denmark country, the Denmark company, they have also remained to be ineffective. So three European powers, British, French, and Dutch, they are important, and so as these all. So this age, 1707 to 1750 and even onwards also, it is the conflict of these all powers. Then, so it's not complicated. Here it may look complicated, but once we go by one topic, another topic, so it's not complicated. So let's start the consolidation of the British among these all. So as you know, we all know that out of these all, who was finally victorious? British. Then in defeating all of them and in defeating these two also. So let's understand the further growth of the British endeavor in India, how it all started. So in this list, please understand, first, Britain has to focus or Britain has to eliminate the power from Europe. So their first and the foremost task is to eliminate the power from the Europe. So the next big power from Europe was the French. Then, and moreover, they needed to eliminate French from here. Dutch were not a problem. Why so? Dutch were not completely interested in India. They had their control on the Indonesian islands also. So they were equally interested, or in fact, they were more interested in the Indonesian island, less in India. And they were also aware that in India there is so much of competition. So Dutch were never a big problem to the Britain. Some fights have happened in which Britain has defeated them. Then we'll talk about that fight, Battle of Bedara, in which they completely defeated Dutch and Dutch winded up their business from India. But what was important for Britain to defeat France? They were the biggest colonial powers in the world. If you look at the colonies of the Britain, how many colonies of Britain were there at that time? Before 1940s, 55. Then, so 55 colonies and 34 colonies of the France. So these were the two big colonial powers in the world. So first they need to fight with each other. Either of them cannot go together. Then, so they cannot go together. One of them will go ahead in India. So these fights of the British and French, which has happened in India, these fights are called as Carnatic Wars. So fight between them is called as Carnatic War. Why it is called as Carnatic War? Because it happened in the area of the Carnatic. So let me tell you, where is the area of the Carnatic? So when we look at the map of India, this particular part is the Carnatic. So this shaded part is the Carnatic. And why they are fighting over here? Because the first important headquarter of the Britain was Madras, and first important headquarter of the French was Pondicherry. So both are here. यहाँ पे. So which is upper, Madras or Pondicherry? Pondicherry. Okay, good. So Madras is little lower down. So now, so they are fighting with each other in this Carnatic area. That's why we call it Carnatic Wars. But moreover, one more thing, there is one more reason of calling them Carnatic Wars, because Carnatic was a sub-kingdom over here. Then, and these rulers of the Carnatic, they were also involved in this war. And moreover, when we were mentioning Hyderabad, so in Hyderabad, there was a sub-feudality of the Carnatic. So, and this is Hyderabad, this portion, this is Carnatic. So Carnatic was also involved in this British and French war. Then, and so as by the second Carnatic War, total 3 wars happened. In the second Carnatic War, not only the Carnatic was involved in it, but so as Hyderabad also got involved in this war. Sorry. So by the time 1763, Carnatic Wars have ended. And after the end of the Carnatic War, French were completely defeated. British have emerged as the most important colonial power. But one more thing has happened, since these two Indian kingdoms have jumped into this war, or they have been dragged into this war. So influence of the British increased in the Carnatic and Hyderabad. Then, so meaning that they have come under the control of the British. Okay? So this is one instance. Another thing is Bengal. So let's have a look at the Bengal. As far as the Bengal is concerned, Bengal was the richest province of the Mughal India. It was the richest province of Mughal India, and highly industrious people were there in the Bengal. So for example, that Bengal, please don't keep in mind, this is what happens with us, that when we are listening to this name, so we imagine by the present context, Bengal means Bangladesh also. Okay? Bengal means Bangladesh also, Bengal means the West Bengal also, Bengal means Assam also. So these were the parts of the Bengal. And in fact, Tripura also. Then, in fact, Meghalaya also. So they were all the parts of the Bengal. Now, when you look at the Bengal of that time, can you tell me that what was the major production or major manufacturing sector in the Bengal, because of which it was very rich? Jute or textile? Textile. So for example, that very recently kya bahut time se we are all talking about that we must use less Chinese and more Indian, made in India, make in India, whatever that is. And apart from it, that we are also talking about that shift our purchases from to the other country. So by the today's class break, if you try to see the tags of your shirts and then whatever you're wearing, you might find 30% of the people, you might find that it is made in Bangladesh. Even in the jeans, then, so made in Bangladesh. There is a possibility, 30 to 50% possibility made in Bangladesh. So basically, Dhaka was one of the major center of the textile production. It was one of the major textile industry. So it is because of the textile industry, Bengal was very rich then. So it was quite rich, and none of the Mughal emperors, they wanted to loosen their hold on the Bengal. They did not want it. But Bengal, since it is rich, so obviously the people who are there, their aspirations are also there that they must go into a separate kingdom. So in 1717, one of the noble of the Mughal kingdom, Murshid Quli Khan, he has founded Bengal, and he has the support of some of the very rich class of the Bengal, Jagat Seth. We'll be discussing about them in very detail. So with that, he has created Bengal. Now, Bengal, since it is the richest province of India, so obviously, when Mughal were not wanting to lose their hold on the Bengal, why British will not focus on Bengal? Why they will neglect? So now British are going ahead with Bengal. They are putting their attention towards the Bengal. And now from here started the history of India, actually, from Bengal itself. So Carnatic War, we can neglect little bit, but not the Bengal. So in Bengal, the highest level of the bloodshed has happened. So listen, so Bengal was all good when the initial rulers were there, like Murshid Quli Khan, Sarfaraj Khan, Sujauddin, then, and Alivardi Khan. The problem started after the death of the Alivardi Khan. Then, and problem why it started? See, most of the time, we ourselves are the reason of our defeat. Most of the time in our families, why our families get divided? Because it's not our neighbor has casted an influence in our families, but we ourselves are not comfortable with each other. So this is an in-house family. The fight was between the daughter of the Alivardi Khan and his grandson. So grandson was Sirajuddaulah and daughter was Ghasiti Begum. They started to fight for the power, and Ghasiti Begum has ghasited the entire issue. So, so now the power tussle has started, and in this power tussle, British have found one such vogue that if they interfere in this one, they might get some benefit. And from 1756 onwards, they have started to interfere in the affairs of the Bengal politics in one way or another way. And moreover, they were one of the most corrupt people in the world. Later on, we'll be studying that they are calling that every native of Hindustan is corrupt then. But they were the most corrupt people of the world and most cunning minds of the world. For that, they can be appreciated also. That a handful of people, it is very, very surprising that a handful of people were able to control near about 20 crore population. So it's just because of the mind that they were using, and they were playing those mind games then. So they were good in the mind games and very good mind games. So now what they have done, that they started, okay, they used this issue of the feud or war of succession between Ghasiti Begum and Alivardi Khan, and they started to bribe important officers of the Bengal. So they have given some sort of lure to the Bengal officers, their generals, take Mir Zafar, that if you side with us, so then what will happen? We will make you the king. And that guy did not understood that he will be not a king, he will be a puppet. Then, so Katputli. So anyways, it has led to the Battle of Palasi. So Battle of Palasi, 1757. In this unfortunate battle, Sirajuddaulah, who was a good ruler, very courageous, very bold then, and progressive also, but unfortunately he was shot dead. He was killed. He was first captured and then he was executed. And after this, the bad phase of the Bengal has started. So Mir Zafar ascended to the throne. Now he realized after some point of time that British greed has increased. Their need is not something which I can fulfill. So then he was abdicated from the throne. Mir Qasim was ascended to the throne. Mir Qasim also felt that it is easy to fulfill anybody's needs, not the greed. And then whatever steps he took for the Bengal, it was highly contested by the British authorities. And then Mir Qasim has fled to Allahabad, okay, Awadh. So Mir Qasim has fled to Awadh, and there he made alliance with two people, Sujaud Daula of Awadh and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Okay? So Shah Alam II. Now, Shah Alam II was also, he was expelled from Delhi by whom? Any idea? Abdali. So he was living in Allahabad. So these three armies got combined, and then the historic Battle of Buxar happened. So historic Battle of Buxar happened in 1764. And in this battle, the combined army was completely defeated. So the combined army was completely defeated, and what happened? After this defeat, Treaty of Allahabad was signed. And in this Treaty of Allahabad, 1765, Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, he was treated with the respect by the British then. And moreover, Mir Qasim was expelled, and Awadh became a subsidiary partner, or basically alliance partner of the British. Mughal Emperor was treated with the respect. He was given assurance that annually he will be paid 26 lakh rupees, but in what return? So return was Diwani right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. So please understand, what is this Diwani right? Diwani right is basically revenue collection right. So revenue collection right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. And moreover, it is a political right. So it is a political right in the age of the monarchies. In monarchical system, it is a political power and only available to the kings. Then, so kings of a particular place. So now, since this right has been given to the British, so they have become equivalent to king. Okay? So they have become equivalent to king. Initially, British not only enjoyed the Diwani right, and they were installing some of the puppet rulers in the Bengal, but from 1770 onwards, they have taken the complete control of the Bengal administration. So now the richest province of India has become British India by 1770. Though it became in 1765 itself, but 5 years they just experimented, and from 1770 onwards, it has been completely in their lap. So now Bengal is under their fold, Hyderabad is under their influence, Carnatic is under their influence. Now they will focus on Mysore. Okay? So next area is Mysore. So next regional kingdom, Mysore. Now understand, we will talk about the origin of the Mysore or initial dynasties in the Mysore. So Mysore has its royal origins in the Vijayanagar kingdom. In medieval history, you read about Vijayanagar kingdom, which was founded in 1336 by Hariharan Bukkaraya. Then, so Mysore has its original origins in the Vijayanagar kingdom. And moreover, Wadiyars were the rulers of the Mysore after the death of Aurangzeb. Now, in the army of the Wadiyar, there was this person, Hyder Ali. He was a soldier, and he was a man of fortune. He was very lucky guy also, and highly intelligent guy also. So with his prowess, with his intelligence, what he has done, that the Wadiyars were replaced by two of their ministers, and now these ministers also awaited their fate. So they were replaced by Hyder Ali. Then, so Hyder Ali, 1761, he has led the foundation of his rule in Mysore. But Hyder Ali, so now British are a bit looking at Hyder Ali. Why so? Because he was very closer to the French. When he was the general of the Mysore army, so from that time only, he has enlisted the help of the French. And moreover, with this help, he has went on to create some of the modern arsenals in the Mysore. So now British are looking at it that how he is brotherly to the French. And moreover, the fight with the Mysore, it will start from 1767. So 1767, but Mysore episode is a little bit complicated. Why so? Because when we look at that, just have a look at the map of India. So when we talk about the Mysore, so here is the Mysore, done. And Mysore has been surrounded by which all kingdoms? So the topmost part, what is this? Maratha. Here Hyderabad, Carnatic, and this one Travancore. So Travancore. So it is surrounded by these all states, and moreover, there was problem from the side of the Mysore also, because Mysore has also an ambition to control this entire polity. Travancore also, Carnatic also, Hyderabad also, Maratha also. So it's not just a two-way fight between British and Mysore, but sometimes it's a fight between that on one hand Mysore versus Maratha, English, Hyderabad, and Travancore. So these four, sometimes they are getting together, then they are fighting with the Mysore. So now, and moreover, British have, till this point of time, British have not intervened in the Maratha politics. They will not intervene because they were the most powerful people of India. So they want to use, look at their strategy. What they're doing, that they have controlled Bengal, and they have controlled this area, they have controlled this, they will have this control. Once the Mysore is under their control, so now Marathas are surrounded by the British. So then they can intervene in the Maratha area. Okay? So then they can intervene in the Maratha area. Now understand. So the first war in the Mysore started in 1767 then, and then second war was around 1780, in which Hyder Ali died. And after the death of the Hyder Ali, Tipu Sultan has carried forwarded the struggle. So the second war was inconclusive. British were not victorious, so as the Hyder Ali. But then in the third war, these all four powers have gone on the side of the English, and then they have thoroughly defeated Tipu Sultan. So they have thoroughly defeated Tipu Sultan. After that, half of the area of the Mysore was given to these four powers. So they distributed all the area among themselves. And then came 1798, Wellesley, the highly imperialist person from the British side, has come to India, and Wellesley was of the view that either you join subsidiary alliance system or we will ruin you. So when Tipu Sultan has refused to join subsidiary alliance system, so then the last battle has happened in 1799, in which Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital, Seringapatnam. So Mysore has come under the control of the British by 1799. Now British will start focusing on the Maratha area, but they were little cautious in the Maratha episode. So Maratha area, first understand, the Maratha kingdom was founded by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Then, and what was his timeline? So Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was there at the time of the Aurangzeb. Then he was one of the biggest formidable enemy of the Aurangzeb, and there were often confrontation between the two. So Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj founded Maratha kingdom in 1674. Then, so 1674. After that, in 1680, his death has happened. Then his two sons. Initially, Sambhaji has become the ruler, Chhatrapati, and then the next ruler, Rajaram, his younger son. So Shivaji's younger son, Rajaram, has become the ruler. And then after, there are some issues which we'll mention in the Maratha episode. 1713 onwards, there is rise of the Peshwas in the Maratha politics. And Peshwas became the most dominating figure in the Maratha politics. Though initially at the time of the Shivaji, Peshwa was just a ministerial position. But from here onwards, he has become the administrative head of the Maratha area. So under some of the initial Peshwas, Marathas have grown in leaps and bounds. And one of the most important Peshwa was Peshwa Bajirao first. And we generally know about his love story with Mastani then. So, but there is another aspect of the Bajirao first, that he was never defeated. In his entire military career of the 20 years, he did not face a single defeat. So Marathas have risen. And then after his death in 1740, his son Nana Sahib, then, who has become the next Peshwa. So it is under him, though he was a very successful Peshwa, but he did some mistakes also. And one of the repercussion of these mistakes is fight with the Abdali. 1761, third battle of Panipat. In third battle of Panipat, Maratha were thoroughly routed. They were crushed. And in fact, they were the most powerful people of India. They were crushed. And they were crushed in a way that maximum number of casualties has happened in the Maratha regime. 50,000 soldiers were killed in this battle. Though the victory was on the side of the Abdali, but he also did not benefited from this battle because he also suffered heavy losses in this battle. Then, so heavy losses in this battle. In fact, the situation of the Abdali, that he has poured in all his money into this battle, and he was on the verge of the bankruptcy. So even after winning in the Panipat, he cannot control Maratha area because Panipat is in the north and Maratha area is in the Deccan. So he cannot control that area. And then after this unfortunate episode, so it is said that this battle, third battle of Panipat, did not benefited Abdali. Obviously, it did not benefited Marathas. So who got benefit from it? British. They got time to strengthen their roots then, and then after 1775, little bit of intervention has started. So 1775 onward, little bit of intervention. Initially there was a fight. Then 1775 to 1782. So in this fight, what has happened that both the parties, British and Marathas, they have realized their relative strength, and both got to know that we both are strong powers. So there was a friendship treaty between the Maratha and the British. That friendship treaty is known as Treaty of Salbai. And it is because of this friendship treaty, 1782 it has happened. Third battle of Mysore has happened in 1790. So that's why Maratha has to go on the side of the British, because they have given assurance in the Treaty of Salbai that they will fight from the side of the English. So that's they have done. Once the Tipu Sultan has been eliminated, then now the complete focus of the British is on Maratha area. The second battle with the Marathas started in 1803, and once again they made full use of the family dispute. Then, so ghar ka jhagda agar jo bahar gaya, so it is not beneficial to anybody. Then, so if whatever is happening in the house, that's why we say that ki ghar mein hi lad lete hain, darwaje band kar lo. Then it's not a wrong suggestion that if the feud of the house goes outside the house, so then it is not beneficial to anybody and it leads to the ruination. So this is what happened with the Marathas. They started infighting with each other, and that was mostly used by the British, and it has led to that Maratha signing subsidiary alliance system after the end of the war. And then by 1817, all the Maratha houses, there were 5 houses we'll be mentioning. So these houses were Sindhyas and Peshwas, Bhosles, Holkars, and Gaikwads. So these all 5 houses, they have realized that we have sold our sovereignty, our conscience, our freedom to the British. Let's put a fight once again, just for our manhood. But it was too late for them to get together, and they were thoroughly defeated, and it has led to the big Maratha regime. If you look at the map of India, so where was the Maratha territory? So it all starts from here and it goes like this. So in one such move, with this one such big stroke, British have got almost 30% of India. Then, so this was the one of the most unfortunate episode for the people of India and for the upcoming history of the India. And then comes the time, the last power. Okay? Because why last power? Punjab. Because Punjab was the last regional state to be created. So that's why it took a little bit of time. Where is Punjab? So Punjab, India's Punjab and Pakistan's Punjab, both areas, and so as the Kashmir part, so as the Islamabad part, that what we call this area, Swat Valley. Have you heard about it, Swat Valley? Malala Yousafzai, he is from the Swat Valley. So these areas, they were under the control of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Now, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he was a very powerful person, and he was intelligent enough to know that if you side with the French, so British will not like it. So why not make British the friends then? So he has created a very powerful army with the support of the British officers itself. Then, so second powerful army of India in the 18th century was Maharaja Ranjit Singh's army. Now, there was a friendship treaty between Maharaja Ranjit Singh and British in 1809, and British have given assurance that they will not interfere in the affairs of the Punjab. This is the first time that British have respected any such treaty. So they respected this treaty till the lifetime of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and he died in 1839. After his death, British have started the intervention. So British have started the intervention in the Punjab politics, and then after, that within 5-6 years only, the Punjab politics has deteriorated. And by 1849, Punjab has been completely annexed by the British into the British India. So 1849, Punjab, the last biggest power of India, has come under the control of the British. Now, British have almost control over 75% of India. So now understand. So this is the first phase, and I think it will take 6 classes. We will be reaching into these all topics, 6 to 7 classes. We'll be completing this much part. I'm very precise about it, that how many classes it takes then. And it is kind of a mathematical calculation. Plus 1 or minus 1 it happens. But then all the topics would be incorporated. In fact, in each and every batch, from the preceding last 10 years, the endeavor is that you are my first batch of 2024. So my first batch. This is the first that I was just cleaning up the mess of the last year. Then, so yeah, 10 subjects. Then obviously I was not free. So day before yesterday only, 4 batches of art and culture I completed, and I have hell lot of sympathy with those students. Exam dena hai 28 ko, and they were still coming to the classes. Then, so and the reason I'll tell you, okay, I'll be very true to you. For 45 days, I was ill like anything. Okay? So I was ill like anything. And in fact, Vision uploaded all my classes to the students that they must see so that there must not be delay. There must not be delay in their preparation. So Vision also thought that कि सर तो जाने वाले हैं, ठीक है? तो अभी वीडियो दे दो. But मैं बच गया. So फिर 45 days के बाद आ गया. So then I completed all these topics. So that's why. Otherwise, your classes would also have started at least 2-3 weeks back. Done. So, anyways, okay. So, usually my strategy is that whatever the previous year batch has studied, I'll be incorporating more new things in your classes. Then, so it will always be a new batches always have some value addition. Okay. So I'll try and I'll see. Paper देख लेते हैं 28 का. That what kind of questions they have asked, and then accordingly I will incorporate some new stuff in your classes also. Okay? And new stuff does not mean irrelevant. As per the changing pattern of the exam, what is the predictability for the next year? So accordingly we'll go into it. Let me tell you a few more stuff. We'll go into the story. So one more exercise that I do in the classes, that in first 3-4 classes I'll not do this thing, but once you have covered some part, okay, some a substantial chunk. So then there would be a surprise test in the classes. Yeah, to write. So it's, and after the first surprise test, it will be no more surprise. So, and you need to bring those assignment sheets. So please keep at least one assignment sheet in my class then, so that when I'm giving the question, so initially I'll give you more than 12 minutes. But later on, I'll be decreasing the time. And this way, we are going to learn the right of the answer writing skill also. And we'll be having discussion on the previous year questions also. So these classes must not be just a monotonous, but it must be inclusion of all the aspects of the exam. So this way, we will develop. And moreover, your copies will be evaluated. The best of the copies I will discuss in the class also, that those who have written better answers, best answers. And for your use, the best answers will be uploaded on your platform also, so that you can see and then you can further emulate those things. Got it? Then, so this would be exercise and this would be happening. And believe me, you will be finding it better. That initially there would be a resistance that you don't want to write. But if you do this small things, this subject would not be difficult. And moreover, at least you will have tendency that kisi bhi din test ho sakta hai. So at least you'll be revising. So what is important? That revision is important. So we will go in this way, but yes, in the beginning it will take a little bit of time because we need to complete a little bit of chunk of the syllabus, and then after we go into this exercise. Okay? So let's move to the next part. Now, so since we have talked about that how British have dominated the regional powers. Moreover, these are not the only regional powers. There are n number of the people. There are n number of the small kingdoms also. And in fact, not only the kings are putting resistance against the British power, but there were also local groups which were putting resistance against the British power. So these local groups, we define them as the civil and tribal uprisings, meaning that those small revolts which has happened. This has been also a favorite topic of the UPSC in last 4-3 years, that they have started asking 1 or 2 questions, one question in the prelims examination related to the tribal revolt and the other revolt, civil revolts. So for example, that last time Munda revolt was asked. There is a very possibility that this year Santhal rebellion they can ask then. So why so? Because our presidency is a Santhal, okay? And she mentioned in his official address about the Santhal rebellion. So we will be discussing, after the completion of this topic, we will be discussing the 100-year-long tradition of the Indians to put a resistance before the British authority in the form of the civil and tribal uprising. So 1819 uprisings would be there that will take into the consideration. Moreover, what else we need to know at this time, that how when British have defeated these all power, what were their tools, what were their weapons, and how they have operated. So in this particular phase of the syllabus, we need to mention the administration of the British, whereby I will be mentioning, we will be writing all those acts and commissions. For example, starting from the Regulating Act of the 1773 until the Charter Act of the 1853. So these all will be seeing. We will talk about their civil services in between 1700 to 1857. We will talk about their army in this particular duration. We will talk about their judicial system also, and we will talk about their police system also. Then one more thing, what is the major source of the income of the British in India? Land revenues. Then so land revenues, and for land revenues there were three systems. Tell me, permanent, Rayatwadi and Mehalwari. Okay? So these three things will be taking into the consideration in this phase. Right? And then after these all, so when it is finally culminating into or crystallizing into revolt of 1857, the mighty revolt of 1857. The reasons are oppression of the princely states, then discrimination with them, and putting them under pressure with subsidiary land system and doctrine of lapse. And then after, many religious issues are also there. So we'll elaborately 1.5 classes it will take for the 1857 revolt. And in this we'll be talking about the different reasons of the 1857 revolt, which is political also, military also, socio-religious also, and apart from it, okay, economic also. So the 4 reasons of the revolt will be mentioning. And in these 4 reasons, subcategories, we will be going little deeper. Each and every aspect we'll be seeing, and then after we'll talk about the course of the revolt, how it started. So the issue. So let's discuss a little bit of it, that how it started. What was the precipitating factor or the most initial factor? So please understand that how it all started. Basically, British have introduced a new rifle in the army. Then, so new rifle in the army. This new rifle was called as Enfield rifle, and the old rifle was brown base musket. So brown base musket, now it was replaced. The reason of replacing it was the greater range and better accuracy. So the new rifles had greater range and better accuracy. But the problem with this particular new rifle Enfield, that, listen, so a cartridge was there which is to be loaded into the gun. Then before loading that cartridge, there was a paper. Suppose this is a cartridge, so there was a paper which was smeared, which was pasted on it, and it is said that the paper was coated with the cow and pig fat. So it was coated with the cow and pig fat, and before loading it into the gun, you needed to bite it off from the teeth. So this is the episode which affected the sepoys. As you know that pig fat or pork is prohibited in Islam, and cow fat or cow meat is prohibited in the Hinduism. So the religious feelings of both Hindu and Muslim sepoys were offended, and they initially refused to use the rifle. ऐसा नहीं है कि beginning से they started doing the violence. Then they refused to use the rifle, and when the instance after instance was happening that they were refusing to use the rifle, British started to mistreat them. And it is in the Meerut episode that they have mistreated them a lot. So in this Meerut episode, when they have refused to use it, and when they were given 10-year imprisonment just for refusing to use the gun, so that was too much, and that's why the sepoys in the Meerut, they have decided enough is enough, and now is the time that we must take the revenge. Then instill the fear in the heart of the oppressor. Then, so that's how they have resorted to the violence. Then, and violence breeds violence. Then, now, so they have killed all the officers in the Meerut. They have marched to Delhi, hardly 70 kilometers from Meerut. And in Delhi also, by the evening of the 11th May, they have killed all the British officers, and they have taken the full command of the Delhi. And that's how the mutiny has started in 1757, which was joined by many of the regional kingdoms, including Jhansi, okay? And including Nana Sahib, then Kunwar Singh of Bihar, Maulavi Ahmadullah, Khan Bahadur of Raebareli, and so as Bahadur Shah Zafar. And the large population of the north and the central India has also participated in it. But the problem with this 1857 revolt was that it was an ad hoc, not highly organized, no central leadership, no coordination. It was just on a feeling then that we can defeat, just a restless feeling that we can defeat. But that defeating an enemy who is highly cunning, highly clever, needed strategies, and where they failed. So, though this revolt was suppressed brutally, but it has opened a new chapter in the Indian history. Once again, a new chapter, and that chapter is the rise of the nationalism. Before the 1857, it was more of a regionalism. Now it has become nationalism. So the seeds of the Indian freedom struggle has been implanted in the failure of the 1857, and that seed is going to grow after 1847, 57. And that seed is leading to the Indian freedom struggle from the foundation of the Congress. So from the foundation of the Congress, how it has happened, we will discuss. After 1857 thing, you need a break right now. Me too. So I hope that you are able to understand this much thing. Okay? So we'll further talk about the rest of the things. So you can take 10 to 12-minute break and then come back. So now listen. Is it audible? So the second part of the story, and so it was very important to understand the very first part, which is a little bit of complicated because so many factors are operating in the first part of the story, that is before 1857. But from here onwards, history becomes very straightforward. Then our freedom struggle is very straightforward. Then, so before moving ahead with this part, I just need to tell you the syllabus of the mains examination and prelims examination. So when we look at the notification of UPSC, so what is mentioned in the syllabus as far as the history is concerned? So in prelims examination, 7 sections are mentioned, and in 7 sections, they have not given much wordings about the syllabus. Be it the polity, be it the economy, and be it any subject. So in history, they have mentioned history of India and national struggle. Okay? So national freedom struggle. This is what they have mentioned. So history of India includes everything. Their culture also, ancient, medieval, modern. And then a particular phase they are calling as national struggle. Now, in mains examination, paper 1, they have clearly mentioned syllabus. Then, and there are 2 parts of the syllabus in modern Indian history. So they are mentioning history of India from the middle of the 17th century. So history of the India from the middle of 17th century, significant events, issues, and significant contributors. So significant events, issues, and significant contributors, this is what they have mentioned. Meaning that they are asking from majorly from the 1750 onwards and middle of the 18th century. Then the second part they are mentioning as the freedom struggle. So second part of the syllabus is mentioned as freedom struggle, and they are mentioning various phases of the freedom struggle. Am I right that you guys are reading from the syllabus? So various phases of the freedom struggle, and then once again the important contributions from the different parts of the country. So important issues, contributors, and the contributions, but they are mentioning from all the parts of the country. Not just Bengal, not just Maharashtra, then, but from Tamil Nadu also, from Kerala also, from Northeast also, so all the parts of the country. So this is what we need to see. Now, so the very first wording, freedom struggle and its various phases. This is one part. So let's understand that what do we mean by the various phases of the freedom struggle. So the various phases we can divide into 2 categories, the violent and the non-violent phases. Okay? So violent and non-violent phases. So the non-violent phases, understand, will be that is, so I'll write this one. So very first one, after the foundation of the Congress, the phase 1 of the Indian freedom struggle starts, which we call moderate phase of the freedom struggle. So don't write, just understand moderate phase. It started from 1885 to 1905. Then, so 1885 to 1905. Then Bengal partition has happened, and then the second phase. So second phase we call it Swadeshi and boycott phase. Okay? So Swadeshi and boycott phase, or phase 2 we can say. Then so phase 2 we can say, and it is also called as the extremist phase of the nationalism, but it is not at all related to the violence. Then comes, after the Swadeshi and boycott movement has been suppressed, there is a null and void in the Indian freedom struggle. 1915 onwards, arrival of Gandhi. So after the arrival of the Gandhi, even home rule also we can keep under this category. Then after Gandhi arrival, so start of the Gandhian phases. So Gandhian phase. So Gandhian phase is also a non-violent phase. It is a non-violent phase. In Gandhian phase, what all phases are there? So initially, Gandhi's regional interventions were there. When he has come back to India from South Africa, so initially he did not went ahead with all India strategy. He was looking into the regional issues. So there were three regional issues: Champaran, Kheda, and Ahmedabad. So Gandhian's phase will include, just give me 1 minute. So regional issues, I am writing RI, then regional issues. Then after, Gandhi is initiating Rolet Satyagraha. So I am writing RS, Rolet Satyagraha. Then the first big movement of the Gandhi, that is non-cooperation movement. So non-cooperation movement. Then comes the next phase of the Gandhi, civil disobedience movement. So civil disobedience movement 1930 onwards, non-cooperation 1920 onwards. And the last of the Gandhi is the Quit India movement. So these would be the parts of the Gandhian phases. Now let's come to the revolutionary phase or violent phase. So violent phase of the Indian freedom struggle. So these are basically, we call them as revolutionary phases. Then, so revolutionary phases, and these revolutionary phases, so moderate, let me write the timeline also, 1885 to 1905, then this one 1905 to 1915, then 1916 to 1920, and Gandhian phases, so regional intervention 1917 to 1918, Rolet Satyagraha 1919, NCM 20 to 22, CDM 1930 to 34. So 34 when Gandhi has withdrawn it, and this is 42 to 47. That's there. Then when it comes to revolutionary nationalism, so revolutionary nationalism, it is going side by side of the non-violent. Then, so the first revolutionary phase of India. So there were three revolutionary phases, and these three revolutionary phases. So phase one, I'm writing first revolutionary phase one. It is coterminous, or basically going side by side, Swadeshi and boycott. So this is happening from 1905 to 1915. In this phase, we talk about some of the important personalities like, so Anusilan Samiti, then we talk about the brothers of Aurobindo, then we talk about Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, we talk about Madam Bhikhaji Kama. So these personalities would be there in this phase. Then comes the second phase, phase two. So phase two of the revolutionary nationalism started from 1924 to 1934. This is the phase where we study about Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad. So these personalities will be discussing over there in the second phase. And then comes the third phase, and that is the last phase. So third phase, phase three. Once again, it is here I'm writing Quit India phase. So why Quit India is there also? Quit India is here also. Gandhi started Quit India, and on 8th of August 1942, he gave his address to the people from the Govalia tank in the Bombay, and next morning, 9th of August, he was arrested. Not just he, but all the major leaders of the Congress were arrested. So basically, Quit India became leaderless then, and people have resorted to violence. So this is what is the way of the people. Okay? It is easy to understand. This is how the world has operated from the time of Adam and Eve. This is what we said in the beginning. You're getting it then? So this is the way of the people, that they have resorted to violence then. So that's why this falls under both of the that falls under both the categories. So this is what we'll be seeing in these all phases. Now you got to know that's about the syllabus. So let's talk something else. So in the second phase, we start our discussion. Basically, we talk about the foundation of the Congress. But what is the specific thing about the Congress? It was the first All India party. First All India party. Then before that, there was no All India party. There were many regional regional parties were there, organizations were there. So after the revolt of the 1857, there has been emergence of the many regional organization. And these all regional organization, they are talking about the more political representation of Indians, then more powers for the Indians. So they are talking about the rights of the Indians. And as such, by 1885, these all regional organization, they have realized that the time has come to create an all India organization. Then, so by 1885, they realized this thing, and that's how in 1885, INC, Indian National Congress, got created. So this particular organization was created with the help of the retired British civil servant. What is his name? A.O. Hume. So Ellen Octavian Hume, and so as the Indian nationalist. With the creation of this particular Indian National Congress, the Indian freedom struggle is entering into its very first phase, and this first phase we are calling as the moderate phase. So why we call it as moderate? Because the leaders, okay, the leaders of the moderate phase from 1885 to 1905, they were of the view that we must not resort to violence. We must not go into the aggressive mass agitation, and they were not in the favor of the mass movements. So they were of the feeling that masses cannot participate in the big numbers if they are not aware. Though awareness might be a small word for us, but it has a bigger connotation. And I think that if you are not aware, so you'll not be studying, you'll not be preparing for the UPSC exam. Because you are aware, that's why you are here. Then, and because you're aware that what you want to do in your life, that's why you are here. So this awareness word is very important. So they were of the view that the first and the foremost task is to create awareness among the masses. And moreover, they did not wanted that in the beginning itself, the organization must be suppressed if we resort to violence. So they wanted Congress to flourish. And that's why they adopted moderate methods. So what were the moderate methods? Prayers, petitions to the British authority, and moreover constitutional agitation. And they never bypassed any law. So किसी भी कानून को हाथ में नहीं लेना था. So this was what was their strategy. So though some of the political rights they have got at this point of time, so if they are asking 10 political rights, so British are giving them one political right. So this is how the mismatch between their demands and the British fulfillment was there. But in 1905, what has happened? That British authority, okay, they have decided, and who is that authority? Basically, Viceroy Curzon. So Viceroy Curzon has come up with a policy. The name of the policy, which we can better say, divide and rule policy. And in the upcoming classes, we'll get to see that Bengal was always one of the center of the beginning of majority of this nationalist activity. So he wanted to weaken the strength of the Bengal, and he has made a very profound statement at that time that Bengal united is a strength, Bengal divided will fall in many ways. Then, so now he wanted to divide the strength of the Bengal, then to weaken the Bengal, and then he has taken a decision that Bengal will be divided on the basis of the religion. Then, so two Bengal will be created, East Bengal and West Bengal. And East Bengal would be Muslim population majority, and West Bengal would be the Hindu majority population. With this announcement, the Indian freedom struggle has entered into the second phase. Now, there were many people in the Congress then. So though the moderate leaders are there, but there are some other leaders in the Congress who does not believe in this prayer and petition. Though they are saying that you can continue with your prayer and petition, but it is just like begging our own rights to the British people. Okay? That what is ours, we are just asking in the form of the arms. Then, so these personalities were Lala Lajpat Rai, then Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Aurobindo Ghosh, then V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. So these personalities, they are not in the favor of the prayer and petition. They are saying that you can continue with that, but we need some mass movement. So they are talking about the mass movement, then mass agitation. And that's how, so after the announcement of this particular partition of the Bengal, Indian freedom struggle has entered into the second phase, which we are calling as the Swadeshi and Boycott movement. And Swadeshi and Boycott movement was the mass movement. So it was the mass movement, and moreover, so there are two things which are visible at this point of time. One, the moderate leaders, they still not ready to go in the direction of the mass movement, but looking at the popular demand, meaning the demand of the people and the situation of the partition of the Bengal, they they accepted that we must go with the mass movement, but they are not very much open to the a big mass movement. And on the other hand, ideological difference of theirs with the extremist leader is also visible. So extremists want that there must be boycott of each and everything which is British, and moderate wanted boycott of symbolic things. So this is the major difference. So what is symbolic thing? Moderate leaders wanted boycott of two things, Manchester cloth and Liverpool salt, but not beyond that. On the other hand, extremists wanted that there must be boycott of everything which is British. Why just two? Avoid the British services also, avoid all the British goods. So this is the major bone of contention between the two, and they were fighting. Okay? Now, British are looking at it. Then, so they are looking at it, and then they are wise enough to make full use of it. Now they started to do the hate mongering between the moderate leaders and the extremist leaders, and this hate mongering has resulted into split of Congress in 1907. There was this very important session in Surat. So before going into Surat, I just need to tell you a little bit one rule of the Congress. The rule of the Congress was that the most important position in the Congress was the position of the Congress president. And the rule that suppose that Congress, and the most important session of the Congress is annual session. Generally, annual session was happening in December, third week of the December. Sometimes, few times it has happened in March, but otherwise generally it is happening in the December. So whenever this session would be happening in the December, so suppose that this session is going to happen in Delhi. So the rule was that a native of Delhi will not become the president of the Congress if the annual session is happening in Delhi. Getting it? So if the annual session is happening in Kerala, so native of Kerala will not become the president. He will not contest the election. So originally what was there, that Tilak, who was the native of the Bombay, Ratnagiri district of the Bombay. Then, so originally the session was to happen in Nagpur, and Nagpur at that point of time was the part of the central province. Then it was not Maharashtra, central province. Then, and Bombay was the another province in which Ratnagiri is there, and Tilak was the native of that. So since moderate leaders were more in numbers and they were strong enough, they controlled the Congress machinery. Just by the hate mongering of the Britishers, what they have done, they have shifted the venue from Nagpur to Surat, so that Tilak must not contest the election. So now, and moderates were strong in Surat, and extremists were strong in Nagpur. Now the Congress elections happened, in which Ras Bihari Ghosh. With this name, there are two personality, Ras Bihari Bose and Ghosh. So here we are talking about Ghosh. So Ras Bihari Ghosh, moderate leader, he became the president. And though for the time being we can say that we are saying them as the moderate, but these moderate leaders of the 1907, they're more extreme than the extremist leaders. Then, so when Tilak started to give his speech in this assembly, he did not allowed. Okay? That Ras Bihari Ghosh did not allowed, and moreover, when Tilak keep on reading, so then the moderate leaders, they came up with the sticks to hit Tilak, and this was enough for the extremist leaders. In fact, Aurobindo has brought large number of the followers from the Bengal to support Tilak. Okay? He booked the entire train for it, and now, so it is like that ki, if you raise a stick to our leader, we will not spare you. And then one of the very ugly thing which happened in that particular assembly, kursi, mej, jute, chappal, sab chale. Then it happened. Then, and what we see in today's parliament, it's not something which is new. It has happened in the past. That's what we say history. Then, so sometimes, yeah, history repeats itself, and then even everything of history gets repeated. So this is what they did. And with this episode, the Congress was divided. Now, still Indians, as Indians, we are not able to understand that who is getting benefited. We're just making a petty fight with us only. So now, British have given a bait, then chara. Then, so British have given a bait to the moderate leaders that more political reforms would be there, and all your demands we will be conceding to. And on the other hand, they arrested on the different charges, they arrested all the extremist leaders. So the most important leader was Lala Lajpat Rai and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak was deported to Mandale jail for 6 years, and Lala Lajpat Rai was jailed for 1 year in India itself. And rest of the leaders were also arrested. So now the moderate leaders, they must be feeling a sigh of relief that these extremists has gone, and then moreover, more political rights will come to us. So in 1909, okay, in 1909, the Viceroy of India and the Secretary of India, their names were Minto and Morley. So Morley-Minto reforms or Indian Councils Act of 1909 has come. We also call it Government of India Act 1909. So all the three names we can say. Now, when these reforms were made public, basically it was a kind of, it generated disaffection in the moderates. Now they felt that they were cheated on the false promises, that what the British have promised them, that if you don't support the extremists, so then we will concede majority of the political reforms to you. So what they are finding, that this was altogether a different different declaration. So the major focus, though there are other points which we'll mention in the detail in the classes, but the major focus of it, that there was no announcement related to the annulment of the partition of Bengal. Nothing they mentioned about it. And what they mentioned, that declaration of the separate electorate for the Muslim classes. Please understand what is separate electorate. हम बाद में भी इसको discuss करेंगे, but let's understand here also what is the separate electorate. It will come time and again in the history. So separate electorate, for example, let's take, we are right now in RWA section of the Rajendra Nagar, Karol Bagh. So suppose that this is Karol Bagh. Then if Karol Bagh has been declared separate electorate for the Muslim, so what does it mean? It means that if an election is going to happen in the Karol Bagh, so the candidate would be Muslim and the voters would also be Muslim. Then, so voters would also be Muslim, meaning that no matter how many Hindus, how many Sikh, how many Buddhists are there in the society, they will not vote. So, will it foster any bonhomie between the Hindus and Muslims? No, not at all. On the other hand, let's look at the reservation, which is a positive concept. We will decide later what happens in reservation. So suppose that this particular constituency of the Karol Bagh, it has been declared as the reserved seat for the Muslims. So for example, that I'm a Muslim candidate, I'll be contesting over here. So then my voters are there from each of the religion. So then I'll be going to you also, I'll be going to you also. I will try to create a connection with the Hindus also, Sikh also, Muslims also, everyone. So basically they are my voters, so I'll be good to them. Then so this is creating bonhomie. Reservation creates bonhomie, but not the separate electorate. Now you got it? So separate electorate is like that Hindus will be, that Muslim candidate and Muslim separate electorate. So they will be like that, why do we care about the Hindus then? That if they are not our voters, so they don't matter to us. And Hindus would be like that this has been declared, Muslims are our enemies then. Because they have captured this constituency, there would be relative deprivation between the Hindus and Muslims. So this is creating further communal tension in the society. That's what is the purpose of the British. That's what they have done. So these sinister designs of the British, we were able to recognize but lately, not at the time when it was announced. So this created a heavy disaffection among the moderates, and they realized that they have been fooled then. But they were fools actually. That's why it happened then. So if they would have cooperated with the extremist leaders, this must not have happened. But anyways, it has happened for some purpose. So now they have made their displeasure very clear to the British king. In 1911, there was one big grand Delhi Darbar was held to address the problems of the moderate leaders and also to showcase the pomp and show of the British crown. So British king, King George, he has come to India to participate in the Grand Delhi Darbar. So this time, one announcement was made. An announcement was a kind of a cover up to the disaffection of the moderates. So they said annulment of the partition of the Bengal, meaning that finally the partition has been disaffected. Okay? So partition has been dissolved and both the areas get united, but with terms and conditions apply, just like the stock market. Then, so what was the terms and condition? So though the East Bengal and West Bengal will get united, but then two Hindu states are created from it, Bihar and Odisha. So now what they have done, that two new states they have created. So Hindu majority, Odisha has gone on one side, Hindu majority, Bihar has gone on one side, and Bengal, it remains as a Muslim majority, so that the communal tension must live up. Then, so this is what they did. Then after, still the moderate leaders are not satisfied, and they must not be satisfied also. But on the other hand, the youth of India, okay, the youth of India, they are not the silent watchers. They are not the silent audiences. They are looking at these all development, and then they are the one who will take up little bit of that the violence in their arms, and then what we created over here. So 1905 to 1915. For the youth of India, Tilak was their leader. For the youth of India, Lajpat Rai was their leader. That at least they were assertive in their approach. So for their manhood, it was all about taking the revenge. And with the revenge, they wanted to take the redemption. So that's how the first revolutionary phase, side by side, it is going to the Swadesi and boycott. And they were not at all happy with the moderate methods. Then what has happened? This first phase of the revolutionary nationalism, it has finally ended with the Gadar movement. So Gadar movement was the final culmination of this one, which happened from 1913 to 1915. So Gadar movement was initiated by the NRIs, those Indians who were living in the North America, those who were aware about the values of the freedom and everything. So they funded and they initiated this movement, and that's how when it got reflected in India from 1913 to 15, so it created a great fervor in the country. But then at the end of the day, by this time, British have become too powerful to be defeated, and then Gadar movement was finally suppressed. So by 1915, two things are coming to end: the second phase of the freedom struggle, and so as the first phase of the revolutionary nationalism. 1915, once again, this is a year of many events. So what are those events? That Tilak has been released from jail, and he has come back to India from the Mandale. Then moreover, there is a lady, her name is Annie Besant. Annie Besant, she's an Irish lady. She has come to India in relation to one of the socio-religious reform movement, Theosophical Society. So she was one of the foremost member of the Theosophical Society. Now, Mrs. Annie Besant, she has sympathy with the Indian cause, and she developed empathy also. So sympathy and empathy, because her own country was a colony of the Britain. So now she wanted to start home rule agitation in India, just like the Ireland. Then Tilak was also of the same opinion, that he also wanted to keep alive, to make alive his political activities, and he wanted to initiate home rule agitation. So from 1916 onwards, they are starting home rule agitation on one hand. On the other hand, that in this, Gandhi has arrived, and as we mentioned, so when Gandhi came back from South Africa, we'll talk about his life in South Africa in the classes, here we are not mentioning. So when Gandhi has came back from the South Africa, so he was like that he will deeply study the Indian scenario. He will not interfere in anything. Okay? First, he will understand the problems of people. So he started to tour all over India and understand the problems of the people. So in the beginning, he intervened in the regional issues, and these regional issues, so there was issue of the indigo plantation in Champaran of Bihar. So here he intervened. Then there was a mill strike issue in the Ahmedabad. So there also he intervened. And then there was a crop failure in the Kheda area of the Gujarat, and there also he intervened. And all the three places Gandhi was quite successful, and his popularity increased in leaps and bounds. Then and his popularity was catapulted to the highest position in India after this three success, because before that it hasn't happened in the Indian history that anybody who is initiating any movement against the British authority and that person has been completely successful. So Gandhi brought altogether very new wave in the Indian freedom struggle scenario, though in the regional issues itself, but he was very successful. On the other hand, home rule agitation, it created awareness in the society. It created the new class of the nationalist. In fact, one of the biggest contribution of the home rule agitation, that it gave rise to the new class of the ardent nationalists, then who are going to play a very vital role in the upcoming years after 1920s. Then, so in these two are going together. Now what happened? The year 1918 is important. In year 1918, British government, looking at the Indian response, so they have come up with the declaration of the reforms of 1919, and this is what we call Montagu-Chelmsford reform, or Government of India Act 1919, or Indian Councils Act 1919. So these reforms, earlier it was made public by the Montagu in 1918, and Mrs. Annie Besant, she accepted the reforms, she withdrew her home rule agitation, though Tilak continued his reform, but continued his movement, but he was too ill. He was highly ill. He was suffering from diabetes, and very often he was going to hospitals and all. In fact, in 1919, he has gone to England to file a case against some person in the Britain. But when he returned back from the Britain, he was so ill that he was literally on the deathbed, and he died on 1st of August 1920. So after his death, his home rule agitation has also come to end. On the other hand, when we look at the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms of 1919 or Indian Councils Act of 1919, what are the major issues? So though some of the political rights has been conferred to Indians, so just like that we are expecting 100 and British are giving us 10. So in this capacity only, in this gap only, they have given the reforms. But the major issue of this one, once again, the separate electorate which was given to the Muslim classes, now it is going to be further extended to all the other classes then, and it was further extended to the Sikh community, the Anglo-Indian community, and the Christian community. So now it has become very clear to the Indian nationalists that British will keep on dividing the Indian society. The people have lived peacefully from the time immemorial. There has been some instances of the flare-up, but overall, when we look at the longer tradition of India, so we were a peaceful society, and that has been totally perturbed by the British authority. So now they realize this fact, and moreover, this is also the time when Indians were expecting more concessions, more privileges then. But what has happened? Government came with the 1919 reform, and so as the Rowlatt Bill. So Rowlatt Bill, please understand. What is this Rowlatt Bill? That government maintained that they have brought this bill to curb the terrorist activity. Okay? But in the name of curbing terrorist activity, they were curtailing the civil liberty, meaning that our liberty, the common citizenry. Then, so in the name of curbing terrorist violence, they were curbing the civil liberty. Now, all the major parties of India, they were all interested in going against the Rowlatt Bill. And this is the time when Gandhi has suggested the first All India movement. So it was the Gandhi's first All India movement, Rowlatt Satyagraha. But it was an unfortunate movement. Why unfortunate? Because there was that miscommunication regarding the start date. So the original date was believed to be that it was decided by Gandhi that it will be 6th of April 1919. But you know, people in Delhi, Amritsar, Jalandhar, Ambala, they started it little early. And this often happens to us because we Delhites are like this only. Diwali bhale 20 तारीख को, but हम 10 तारीख से मनाना start कर देते हैं, ठीक है? So, so they started little early, and when they started little early, so it led to some sort of violence on the street. And moreover, what has happened that British have brought large forces to the major towns of the North India, including Amritsar. 13th of April, which was a Baisakhi day then, and this was the day of the festivities, but it turned out to be the highly unfortunate day in the Indian history. So the Lieutenant Governor of the Punjab was Michael O'Dwyer. He gave all the rights and all the privileges and then all the authority to the General Dyer. Then, so Michael O'Dwyer was the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab, and General Dyer was the commanding authority in the Amritsar. So he gave them all the authority to do anything what he wants. And then the one of the biggest massacre of the 20th century has happened at this point of time, which we call Jallianwala Bagh massacre. And it was unfortunate because Jallianwala Bagh is not a garden actually. Just by going by the name, it seems that it's a garden, but it's not a garden. It's actually what is there, that from 3 sides houses were there. In fact, 4 sides. Either bhi ghar bane hue, this side also, even here shops are there. There was only one entry and one exit. So some sort of speech was going on in this particular open ground where the children are playing some games then. So this was happening, and there was a one well over here. So in this speech, that General Dyer incensed that people are flouting the norms, authorities, and the orders, and he gave his command to fire on the unarmed crowd. They mentioned that only 370 people were dead, but in reality, more than 1,500 people died. And this brutality of the British authority has stunned the nation, it has shocked the nation. And then after, Gandhi has withdrawn the Rowlatt Satyagraha, but with a determination that he will be launching a much bigger movement and much bigger mass movement. So now, in 1920, there are 2 issues in India after Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So these 2 issues, let me write first. So 1920, on one hand, it is the end of what? World War One. End of World War One. Then, and then, why we are bringing World War One? Because in World War One, obviously, when Britain is fighting the World War One, so if British army is fighting, so it will include the Indians, obviously. British army is made of 80% of Indians then, and these 80% of Indians will have equal that very good share of the Muslims also. Near about 35% Muslims were there in the army. So now these 35% Muslims who are there in the British army, okay, they are fighting against which country? The country which is considered to be the spiritual leader of the Islam. Which country? Turkey. So British is fighting against Turkey, and moreover, Indian Muslims are part of the Britain's convoy. So they are little bit suspect about it. So they have asked to the British authority that the Sultan of the Turkey, who is our Khalifa, spiritual leader, how come we will fight against him? So British have given assurance to the Muslim leaders of India that you fight with us, we will make sure that after the defeat of these all powers who are with whom Turkey has allied, so the position of the Khalifa will remain intact, we will not disturb him. Okay? So this is the assurance they have given. After the World War I, there was one treaty in the World War scenario, Treaty of Sevres. And as per the Treaty of Sevres, Sultan of Turkey was to be removed from the position. Okay? And it was a U-turn of the British promise. So Indian leaders needed to realize that British cannot be trusted, and we trusted them. So the Muslim leaders of India, they realized that they have been cheated for their loyalty. Then, so they have been falsely dragged into this war. So now they wanted to initiate a movement against Britain that is known as Khilafat movement. Then Khilafat movement. Moreover, Punjab, one of the worst kind of thing has happened in Punjab. Gandhi is affected by it. And moreover, Gandhi has also seen that the British attempt to divide the society on the lines of the Hindus and Muslims. So Gandhi sees this particular 1920 as an opportunity to bring Hindus and Muslims together and also address the British violence. Then, so also address the British violence. So now, what he has done, that he has proposed Khilafat non-cooperation movement. Then he participated in the Khilafat committee meetings. In fact, he addressed All India Khilafat Committee conference also. Once upon a time, he was a president of the Khilafat committee also. And then after, on 1st of August, okay, that's the day, 1920, at the graveyard of Tilak, okay, they all in the funeral procession of the Tilak. And that's the day when Gandhi has announced that he will be going ahead with the non-cooperation movement. Then, so he's going ahead with the non-cooperation movement, and moreover, from here onwards, there will be some meetings of the Congress to decide that what would be the modus operandi of this Khilafat non-cooperation. And finally, after the Nagpur session of the Congress, non-cooperation movement is launched. Then, so non-cooperation movement is launched, and moreover, this was one of the highly effective movement till this date in India. It has put the British authority on the back foot. They have been under high pressure. Then, so they were under high pressure, and moreover, they had no clue in the beginning to how to tackle this kind of movement. Moreover, one of the change in the Indian scenario which has happened this time, that Gandhi was of the view that if the movement would be non-violent, large number of women will be participating. Then obviously that women have been the first victims of the violence right from the inception of the history. So if the violent movement would be there, it will not be suitable for women to participate. If non-violent movements are there, so women can participate. So that's how the increased participation of women has also happened in the non-cooperation. And then after, so when this was all going good, Gandhi was it said about the Gandhi that he is highly adamant about his values and his that what he wanted to do. So one unfortunate incident happened in the non-cooperation as per the Gandhi. Then, so what is the unfortunate incident? Chauri Chaura. Okay? So it's a town in the Gorakhpur district of the UP, Eastern UP. And there what happened, that the masses were protesting against, they were the part of the non-cooperation, they were protesting against the British authority, and then the police officials, they beaten them. Okay? To take the revenge of this beating, they burnt the police station with entire policemen inside the police station. Since it was a violent activity on the part of the masses, Gandhi said that this way we cannot continue, and he withdrew the non-cooperation movement with Bardoli resolution in February 1922. So there was criticism of the Gandhi at this point of time when it was all going good. Why he has withdrawn the non-cooperation movement? When already the British authority was under pressure, why he has withdrawn the non-cooperation movement? Moreover, there are n number of the people who said that if a few chunk of the people, if handful of people have resorted to violence, it does not mean that entire India has gone into the violence. But Gandhi was Gandhi. Gandhi wanted that everybody must learn the values of the non-violence, and then only he can go ahead. So after this has happened, Gandhi was jailed because British authority framed him that he is invoking seditious activity against the state. So 18th of March 1922, Gandhi was arrested. He was put into the jail for 6 years for spreading disaffection against the British government. Before going to the jail, Gandhi has already asked his cadre, his followers, that to go ahead with the constructive activities. Then, so to work on the upliftment of the untouchables, to work on the Hindu-Muslim unity, and to work for the upliftment of the women when I am not here in the Indian scenario. But then Gandhi is in jail, and Congress, once again, it is at a juncture which is where it is a confused organization. 1907, their confusion has led to disaster. In 1923, once again, they are at a juncture where they are confused. So in non-cooperation, what was the strategy? Please understand. Boycott of everything which is British. Then, so in 1923, some of the leaders of the Congress, then their names will mention later on, but two names very important, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru. So they said that we must end the boycott of the councils. Boycott of the councils, we must enter into the councils, and then after we must continue with the constitutional work. But on the other hand, the followers of the Gandhi, like Rajendra Prasad, C. Rajagopalachari, and Sardar Patel. So they were of the view that we must continue with the Gandhian constructive activity, Hindu-Muslim unity, untouchability, and upliftment of the women. So they are not in the favor of the council entry. This has led to a kind of, you can say, that deadlock between the two groups then. And then in 1923, 1st of January, the two people, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, they went on to create a different party from the Congress. Initially, they named it Khilafat Swaraj Party, Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party, but later on it came to be known as the Swaraj Party. But by the end, or by the middle of the 1923, the other leaders or Gandhian followers, and even in the pro-changers who are advocating council entry, they realized and they felt the ghost of the 1907, that what kind of shadow it has casted on the aspirations of the nation, not on organization. So they thought that we must not repeat the mistake of 1907. And they started to find out working together, some avenues of working together. They came together finally by the end of 1923. So the council entry propaganda, it was suspended, and Swaraj Party was allowed to contest the election. Now Swaraj Party, it was very successful in the Central Assembly, and moreover, out of 101 elected seats, they were victorious on 42 seats. Moreover, for the first time, an Indian became the Speaker of the Central Assembly, what we call Lok Sabha today. That time it is called as a Central Assembly. So Indian became, and who was that? Elder brother of the Sardar Patel, Vittal Bhai Patel. So he became the first Indian Speaker of the Assemblies. Gandhi was released from jail in 1924 February on health grounds. And by this time already council entry has happened. So Gandhi was not in the favor, but he did not wanted to oppose it because it has happened. In 1926, what is happening? So 1926, government announced the next bout of the reforms, and they said that they are sending Simon Commission to India to further suggest the constitutional advancement of India. Now, this problem with this Simon Commission, that it was an all-white commission. So it was an all-white commission, not even a single Indian, the most moderate, the most liberal was accommodated in this commission. So every Indian, including Muhammad Ali Jinnah of the Muslim League, every Indian felt that it is an embarrassment to the Indians. And then they decided that they will be boycotting the Simon Commission. So on the issue of the Simon Commission, the people who were in the councils, they resigned, and then the Simon boycott has started. So Simon boycott has started, but this Simon boycott, wherever the commission was going, people were kind of protesting against, flag demonstrations were happening, black flag demonstrations, Simon go back, sloganeering was happening. So the government attitude was the lathi charge. And government, in the very first bad incident, they have thoroughly beaten Jawaharlal Nehru and Govind Vallabh Pant. But the worst incident happened in Lahore, where Lala Lajpat Rai was beaten on the chest, and then 17th of November, he died because of those injuries. Then, so it is his death which was revenged by Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev. There are many other parts of their history, so we'll see in the elaborate classes. So Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev have taken the revenge of the killing of the Lala Lajpat Rai, but then they were arrested also after some time, and then they were executed on 23rd of March 1931. So that was one bad day in the Indian history. This has happened. Then after Simon Commission. So now the government has thrown a challenge before Indians that if you're not accepting constitutional provision given by us, so you propose a constitutional thing, but make sure that there must be consensus between Hindus and Muslims. They were very clever because they know that the seed of the hatredness that they have implanted between Hindus and Muslims, they will never be on consensus. Then, so they were right, because Nehru committee, which was created under Motilal Nehru, when it gave its report, there was no consensus between the Muslim League and the Indian National Congress. And now, since there is no consensus, the government will not accept it. Then after, once again, that this kind of bypass is happening. So government came up with one more declaration that they are going to hold a roundtable conference in Britain. So roundtable conference, the notion is that everybody is equal, nobody is bigger. Then, so in roundtable conference, everybody is equal, meaning that all the Indian major leaders will be invited to the Britain to participate in the conference. Then, and they will have equal opportunity to address their issues. Then, so when this announcement was made, Congress asked a question, okay, that will it lead to the self-rule in India? And when government did not give any reply, so Congress decided that it will not participate in the first roundtable conference. So on one hand, in 1930, first roundtable conference is happening in Britain. Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha, okay, Tej Bahadur Sapru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, they all have participated, but Congress has not participated. So what Congress is doing in India? Lahore session of the Congress. Congress gave Gandhi permission to initiate civil disobedience movement. So on one hand, roundtable conference is happening in Britain, and in India, the civil disobedience movement has started. So let's look at the Gandhi and civil disobedience movement. So Gandhi initiated this civil disobedience movement with much more intelligence done and very highly organized way. So this civil disobedience movement started with the Salt March. Then Gandhi started from his Sabarmati ashram with 78 delegates on 12th of March 1930. He reached to the coast of Dandi on 6th of April, and he took handful of salt. And taking that salt, he declared that it's a crime against God and humanity to submit any longer before the British authority. And that's how the beginning, the Salt March has started and civil disobedience has started. So this movement got reflected in the different parts of the country. And these different parts of the country, so in Northwest Frontier Province, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who was also called as Frontier Gandhi, he organized this movement. In Tamil Nadu, C. Rajgopalachari. In Kerala, K. Kelappan. In Bombay area, Sarojini Naidu, Imam Sahib, Manilal. Then in Bengal also it was organized. So all the parts, in Nagaland, Rani Gidenliu, she is organizing the civil disobedience movement. So these all, that it was going quite good, happening in a very better way. And British authority, once again, they were under pressure. Because you know what happened? Gandhi started with the 78 delegate. 476 kilometer is Dandi from the Sabarmati. And then when he has reached to Sabarmati, already the crowd has swelled to 1,50,000. So it is something which is an issue for the British authority. Now, when the Roundtable Conference 1 ended and Congress did not participate, so each of the discussion, all the discussions of the Roundtable Conference seemed to be abortive, because without Congress, no discussion could be fruitful. It was the biggest party of India. So there was a pressure on the Irwin, then Viceroy, that anyhow you bring Congress to the second roundtable conference. Then, so anyhow you bring Congress to the second roundtable conference. there was, in the middle of the civil disobedience movement, there was this talk between Gandhi and Viceroy Irwin, which has led to the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. And once again, Gandhi is criticized over here. We will have a very elaborate discussion on it, that what were the flaws here, and was there any role of Gandhi if he could have saved the life of the Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev. So, as per the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, many of the things which Gandhi has proposed was accepted by Irwin, and moreover, Irwin did not accept the conversion of the capital punishment to Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev. So that he did not accept it, but rest of the things he has accepted, and as such, that Gandhi decided that since the majority of the pact has happened, so he will participate in the second roundtable conference on behalf of Congress. So Gandhi was criticized second time here. Now Gandhi is going to the second roundtable conference in Britain, but he achieved nothing. Gandhi had a very good oratory skill. He had a kind of that particular part of his personality which had a very profound image of the oratory things. Even after powerful advocacy and powerful oratory skill, he achieved nothing. In fact, Winston Churchill called Gandhi half-naked, seditious fakir, adha nanga, sadyantarkari fakir. So this is what he said. And Gandhi, rather than getting anything for the Indians, he has returned back to India empty-handed. So, people in the bigger positions, okay? People in the bigger roles, they have the equal share of the accuses and abuses also. Then, so I consider that we often lament on the politicians, rant on the politicians. There are majority of them who deserve it, but there are some, okay, who are in that position. We need to appreciate because they have the depth in that personality. Daily basis, okay, they are just hearing these kind of accuses and the lamentation and the rantings. Then, so they must be very much mature. So that aspect is not there with us. कोई गाली दे के दे दे मुझे, फिर देखो उसके बाद, then छोड़ूंगा नहीं मैं. So this is how we are generally. Then, so come back to this. We are talking about the Gandhi, that he has that kind of personality that he will bear everything within him, no matter what people are asking to him, people are saying to him, but he will not go in that the verbal abuse or return of the verbal abuse. So Gandhi was heavily criticized at this point of time, that when he failed, as if that entire nation, so expectations were there on him, but there is also a possibility of the failure because it's all in the hand of the British authority that how they will be operating. So when Gandhi has returned back to India, on one hand, he is abused, he is accused, and on the other hand, the government has got time to make full-fledged preparation to suppress the Indian movement. So though he resumed civil disobedience after returning, but it was not able to be executed. And then what happened? Within few months only, 80,000 people were arrested by the government. So after it, obviously 80,000 is not a small amount. And then after Gandhi realized that now is the time that I must withdraw the civil disobedience. So in 1934, he withdrew the civil disobedience movement. And moreover, all the three roundtable conferences, they have ended by this time. And Simon Commission report is already there before the British authority. There are some recommendations of the British authorities in India, which is called as white papers, and the reports of the Joint Select Committee. So combining these all, 1935 Government of India Act has come. So 1935 Government of India Act has come, and moreover, so now let's look at that. What is the proposal in the Government of India Act? Major proposals I'm telling you. Then, so the Government of India Act 1935, it sought to provide more powers to the provincial governments. Then, so more autonomy and more powers to the state governments. Then, provincial we are calling, but it is state government. And then it tried to create All India Federation comprising of the princely states and the British ruled provinces. But princely states, it was that federation was conditional, that two criterions must be fulfilled. Agar fulfill nahi hua, the federation will not be created. And the two criteria were that half of the princely states must join the federation. So these princely states, they never gave their consent, and half never became a reality. So that's why federation never became operational. But the second one is important, that they gave more power to the provincial government. Idea was that to give more power to the provincial governments so that the regional leaders, when they will taste power, they will not cooperate with the central authority of the Congress. Then, so now, in this regard, 1937 provincial elections were to happen. And by this time, how many provinces, British provinces were there in India? 11. So 11 provinces were there in India. So in 1937, when the elections happened, in 6 of the states, Congress got majority. So clear majority in 6 states. 3 places, Congress created coalition government. Then coalition government, and 2 places, there were coalition government of other people. I'm not telling the places, we'll tell in the classes. Okay? So out of the 11 provinces, obviously it's a good achievement of the Congress. 9 places they have government, 6 to clear majority ke saath, and 3 with the coalition government. So now the rule of the Congress ministries has started in the states, provinces. And these states, let me tell you that which all states are there. So it is UP. Okay? UP is United Province. CP is Central Province. So UP, CP, Bihar, Odisha, Bombay, Madras, then Sindh, Northwest Frontier Province, and Assam. So these places Congress governments were there, coalition and then majority government. So 28-month rule of the Congress has started. And this 28-month rule of the Congress, it has led to some good things. Okay? So Congress ministries in the respective states, they have tried to do something good in all the areas. Then, but what has happened after it? In September 1939, World War II broke out. And after the World War II broke out, so what has happened? That the Congress ministries, they resigned. Why they resigned? Because Britain declared India to be party to the World War II without taking any consultation with the Indians. Then, so they did not took any consultation with Indians, and as such, the Indian the Congress government in the respective states, they resigned in protest of it. But in the beginning, till this point of time, we haven't talked about Subhash Chandra Bose, even Jawaharlal Nehru. So we are just going with the major themes, not with the personalities. In the classes, we'll be going with the personalities also. So in 1939, there was a big bone of contention between Gandhi and Bose. They were big personalities. Then Gandhi, Bose, and Nehru, and Patel. They were, and C. Rajgopalachari. If you're asked that who were the 2 most big personalities of the India in 1940, so these would be that Nehru, Bose, then Patel, Gandhi, and C. Rajgopalachari. Then, so these 5 people. Now, the major bone of contention was between Gandhi and Bose, that Gandhi was saying that Britain is fighting a just war because they are fighting a war against the fascist forces of the Hitler. And Hitler is all about purification of the race and cleansing of the race. So he considered that Aryan to be pure race, and then he considered Israelis, the Jews, to be the impure race. So elimination of this. So Gandhi was in the favor of the Britain, that they are fighting a just war, and we must not start any mass movement to embarrass Britain in its just cause. But Bose was like that from last 250 years, they have exploited us in each and every ways. So this is not the time to be softer on the Britain. This is the time to exploit the exploiters. But this bone of contention is there, and in this they have parted their ways. Bose has left Congress. He has gone to create Forward Bloc, and later on, when the Quit India is going to start, Bose would be already in Germany and then Japan and these all places. So assembling the forces to fight a military struggle against the British authority. So now let's look at, so World War has started. Indian leaders have supported the Britain, particularly the Gandhi faction. Now Gandhi also need to do something, that at least masses, the message must not go to the masses that Indian political class is not doing anything for them. So Gandhi started a token movement. The token movement is called as individual satyagraha. Have you heard about it? So individual satyagraha. So individual satyagraha was not a mass movement. It was all about giving speeches, profound speeches. So Jawaharlal Nehru, Vinoba Bhave, Brahmadatta. So they are the satyagrahis who were going to different places, giving speeches and everything. So this is happening on one hand. And then Gandhi is expecting that British, they themselves will recognize these all, that we are supporting them, we are not against them, and they will bring some good reforms. So in 1942, British authority has replied by sending Cripps mission to India. And Cripps mission, so rather than giving any constitutional reform in a kind of a better way, they have proposed blueprint of the partition of India. From 1940s, Muslim League has gone in the direction of demand of a separate state, Pakistan. So now 1942 Cripps mission has given voice to this blueprint of the partition of India that was big enough for Gandhi to get frustrated. And that was enough for Gandhi to initiate the mass movement. So then Gandhi has decided that he was so angry at this time that enough is enough, that we have cooperated with you a lot then, and Subhas was right. He must have realized, he never said it then, but he must have realized that Subhas was right, that we must go ahead with the mass movement. And then he decided that we'll be launching the Quit India movement. But understand, 8th of August 1942, Govalia tank in Bombay, Gandhi addressed the nation that do or die, then quit India. And then he addressed masses to behave like an independent nation, do not pay any heed to the orders of the British authority. And then he appealed to them to start a non-violent civil disobedience. But then what happened? 9th of August, all the major leaders of the Congress, they were arrested in a single sweep and they were put into the different jails. Then, so ek jagah nahi rakha kisi ko, sabko alag alag jail. So Nehru was put into the Almora jail, Gandhi was in the Aga Khan palace, some people were, Sarojini Naidu was kept in the Yerwada jail. So they are keeping all the leaders in the different jails then, so that they must not coordinate with each other. On the other hand, the masses were now leaderless, but they will have to do something. And now they have started, masses at their own, they have started the Quit India. But it will lead to the violence, and that's how the violence has started. So the Quit India has got fused with the revolutionary activity also. And these revolutionary activities we call creation of the parallel governments and underground activity. Okay? So creation of the parallel governments and underground activities. So till 1945, it is going in this way. Then there were many attempts by the British authority, meanwhile, to reconciliate with the Indians. And why these attempts are there? So there is a reason. Let's get back to Bose. Bose has left India. Then he has left India in 1941. And he is restless that he will be going to the places to seek the cooperation of the people in fight of India against the British authority. So he has gone to Germany. But in Germany, in reality, we might be having perception that Germany will support India or supported India. It was not the case. He was disappointed in Germany. Though we will write, for writing purpose, we'll write that he created some sort of army over there, but he was disappointed. Why he was disappointed? So in the very first class, I will like to make it clear that when it comes to Hitler, Hitler was never in the favor of the India's freedom. Hitler has mentioned in his book, Mein Kampf, his biography, that's the name of his biography, Mein Kampf, that he very clearly mentioned that what he wants, that he wants the rule of the pure class, pure Aryans. Then he considered Indians to be the impure. And then he has mentioned that Britain has all the right to rule over this impure race. Then he has further mentioned, it might seem surprising to you, that he has further mentioned that if Britain loses control on India, so it will be bad for us. Then that it is the Britain who has taught Indians to talk good, walk good, and behave good. Then, and then in the midst of this war, they are on the other side of the spectrum. They are enemies. But many a times Hitler tried with Britain to conciliate. So he was always in favor of Britain. He was just finding it on the other side of the spectrum, but he always tried to conciliate with the Britain, not with the other countries. So this was Hitler. So that's why the visit of the Bose was in Germany was disappointment. But then Bose had good friends, he found. And the people who are still a good friend without saying a word. You know whom? Japan. Then, so Japan has clearly mentioned their support. Even Mussolini also mentioned clear support to India. So then, Bose has come back from Germany to Indonesian islands. Then, and there in Indonesian islands, some prisoners of war of Indian origin, Mohan Singh, Captain Mohan Singh, has already created Indian National Army. Subhash Chandra Bose reorganized it, and this came to be known as the Azad Hind Force. He created many regiments, and then with the support of the southern branch of the Japanese army, he started one of the very ambitious campaign, which is called as the Kohima and Imphal campaign. But it was an unfortunate event. The INA people were defeated. The reason of the defeat was already Japan was nuked. 6th of August, 9th of August, Hiroshima and Nagasaki has happened. And then Japan has nothing to do but to surrender. With the surrender of Japan, INA also has to surrender. Because with their support, we were fighting. And it is also said that in a mysterious plane crash, Subhash Chandra Bose has died. His unfortunate death has happened. And INA people were brought to India. So these all the INA officers, they were arrested, they were brought to India, and from 1946 their trials have started. So their trials have started. So the historic trials happened in Delhi, Red Fort, and in Calcutta. So whenever these trials were happening to the INA officers, so you know what was happening, that people were going berserk, they were hitting the street, then there were upsurges, people were attacking on the British authority, their symbols, post offices, railway line, okay, telephones. So these all things were attacked. And moreover, it has created a kind of a big flare up all over India that people are highly agitated. And now British have got to know that very less time has left for them to be in India. So they are already in the mood that they will wind up their operations from India, and India and Pakistan will become free. So then, not Pakistan thing was there in 1946, it has come up in 1947 itself. Then what has happened? Another event which marked the final episode of the India, that India's freedom, that is, on one hand, INA trials are going on. Royal Indian Navy. Revolt happened in Royal Indian Navy because the members of the Navy, Indian members who are called as ratings, so lowest level officers are called as ratings. So they were highly discriminated. And moreover, from last 3 days, it is the date I'll exactly tell you, 18th of February 1946. So from last 3 days, they were served unpalatable food. What do we mean by unpalatable food? Sada hua khana. Okay? So the situation was like that today, the food was served. You said that it is not good, I will not eat. Tomorrow also the same food is served to you. And day after tomorrow also same food is served to you. That British authority maintained कि जब तक ये खाओगे नहीं, दूसरा नया खाना मिलेगा नहीं. So till the time you don't complete it up, eat it up, so you will not get the another food. It was enough. इससे बड़ी बेइज्जती कुछ हो नहीं सकती. And moreover, all the ratings of this particular ship Talwar, they went on to strike, and it further inspired 200 ships which were docked at the gateway of India. So they revolted, and when this news reached to Karachi, so all the ships which were docked at the Karachi, they also revolted. So now the entire Royal Indian Navy has revolted. This episode is considered to be the final nail in the coffin of the British rule in India. And after that, British government has decided that they will be sending cabinet mission to India. And after the cabinet mission, it was decided that Mountbatten would be the last viceroy, and as per his plan, the freedom of India and Pakistan would be given, which was 14th of August for India, for Pakistan, and 15th of August for India. Moreover, for creation of the boundary between the two states, Radcliffe Commission was created, that what would be the boundary between the two nations. But though we call it freedom, but it was an unfortunate day. It was an unfortunate day. Remember the statement what I mentioned, what Gandhi said, that the approach of the violence will breed a cult of the violence in the society. Approach of the violence will breed the cult of violence in the society. Moreover, for each and every problem of ours, we will resort to violence. Kal tumne meri baat nahi mani, goli maar do sale ko. This is what will be the approach then. So this is what he said, and this is what happened at the time of the India's freedom and partition, that people were running after each other's life. It was not a celebration in reality. If you happen to encounter the experience of your grandparents, they might be remembering. It was not a very happy moment. It was a moment of the sadness to majority of the mature people, because people were running after each other's life. And to our surprise, I hope some of you must have studied, but the maximum number of the killings did not happen on the Pakistan border. It happened on the Bangladesh border. So maximum number of the people were killed on this side. So with this unfortunate thing, the partition has happened, and India has got its own freedom, Pakistan has got its own way, and then Pakistan has never gone its own way. So you know, one difference between India and Pakistan, that in India, whatever be our difficulties and whatever be our share of the grievances with our regimes, which have ruled us, not ruled us, which have administered us from 1947 till this time, we do have a system. And we do have a system where our government owns an army. But in Pakistan, their army owns the government. That's the biggest difference between the two states, then, two nations. And moreover, so this is what is the overall story. there are some topics which we'll be covering after, and this is also the sequence of the classes. This is how we'll be proceeding in the classes. After that, we'll be going into the miscellaneous topics. Please listen. So what are these miscellaneous topics? Development of education in India, comparison of the personalities, Gandhi, Ambedkar, Bose, then, so these all personalities and their comparisons. Then after that, development of the nationalist spirit in the princely states and different phases of the colonialism in the princely states, development of press, development of the left in India, development of the trade class in India, trade unions in India, capitalist class in India, and one of the last topic I'll be incorporating, contribution of the women in the freedom struggle. So these miscellaneous topics and even communalism topic also. So the two places you read communalism, one is the history where I will talk about the stages of the communalism, and second is the society classes where you talk about the examples, okay, where you get to know more about the present circumstance of the communalism. Okay? So these all things would be done in the classes. This is how we'll be operating. I hope you have understood part of it today. So as far as the books are concerned, already we are running out of the time. कल की क्लास में करते हैं, ठीक है? Done? चलो, so कल morning में आते ही we will do the discussion on the reference book material. Thank you.